The D and Davis Show.
D and Davis Show. It's time to get your sports fix through the nation, and particularly here in Chicago, as we wait upon the draft lottery. On today's show to help us with the draft and everything NBA, we're going to have Bryan Kalbrosky from Hoops Hype rejoin us to talk a little bit about what the Bulls may do, the best fits for the best picks. And a little bit later, we're going to have Shawn from co-host of the Shawn and Maya show in the morning to join us to talk about Bears and probably some baseball also. So we got a lot to get into. You definitely have to talk a little bit about that lawsuit that Tigers going into, and the Cubs being hot as you know what, and the Sox took an L today, but hey, Moncada is raking. My name's Kenneth Davis, and the next voice you hear is
D. Demond Spruill. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at D and Davis Show. Once again, it's at D and Davis Show. Facebook.com/D and Davis Show. Email address is dndavisshow@gmail.com. Download the podcast D and Davis Show and D and Davis The Flip on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Music, Stitcher, the TuneIn app, Spotify, and YouTube. I'm on Twitter at Demons1, DEMONZE1. Ken is on Twitter at That's Davis, executive producer of the D and Davis Show and D and Davis The Flip. One Mr. Ryan Bukoveski. Ryan's on Twitter at Ryan B. Ski. And my main man, Guy Stevens, is in the house with us. Make sure you follow Guy on Twitter at Pay the Guy.
Well, look, I was on Tony's Stick to the Thrones podcast yesterday.
How did it go?
It went well. Definitely, it was me, Tanny, Danny, and Chris and Tony.
670 Score family.
Yeah, they were definitely here. We recorded out of 670 Score. Shout out to Mitch, the plug. But the thing that stood out to me, one of the things that stood out to me particularly, was the night before when Tony, I looked at the morning where Tony posted that he didn't see the shot.
You got to be aware of the inbounder here if you're Philly.
It's off to Leonard, defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger? Game! Series! Toronto is won!
From Kawhi, and I was like, how could you complain all this time about Thrones being bad and you actually watched it live?
You watched it live.
But listen, I was sitting there in the third quarter. It was about 7:45, I believe, and I was looking like, man, this game is going to go way past the beginning of Thrones. I'm like, maybe 20 minutes or whatever. Man, even Afton was sitting there like, whoa, like when that dude, when he dropped, I haven't seen someone drop a country. He literally dropped America right there, right? Like, I'm about to drop these mugs right here.
He just dropped one city in America, really.
I think he dropped the whole country.
Oh, no.
It was the whole, it was from Philadelphia to San Antonio.
No. Maybe Philly and San Ann, I give you that.
I mean, if you're a fan of either one of those teams, the Spurs or the Sixers, you had to be so pissed off. I mean, the Sixers basically, you're thinking the game's going into OT. It's like, it's clanging around. You like, oh yeah, okay, we're going OT. And it drops in and your heart just goes.
4 doinks. 1, 2, 3, 4 in the basket.
And then if you're a Spurs fan, all you're thinking about is we had this on our team. And we had to trade him away because he didn't want to be here any longer. I can't stand
Get me out of San Antonio.
But man, Kawhi did his thing. I mean, if you look at the fact that in this playoffs, what Kevin Durant was doing before he went down, I know that the NBA doesn't have playoff awards for the playoffs, but right now, Kawhi, he's probably your MVP of the playoffs right now.
That's a good one. It would definitely be between
him and Giannis.
Well, even KD. If KD was healthy all the way through.
If KD was healthy.
Yeah, KD was healthy all the way through. It would definitely be that. But listen, you got the 76ers going up against the Milwaukee Bucks. That game is tomorrow, first game in the Eastern Conference Finals. And tonight, we record right here, 670 Score, as Ken said. We have Portland versus the Golden State Warriors. So we got 2 dynamic backcourts going against each other. But as Ken led off with Kawhi Leonard, man, Kawhi going up against Giannis, that's going to be something.
Yeah, those two teams going against
that's going to be something.
Should be terrific.
Yeah.
One thing that still stuck out to me, and you see it a lot today, is the CJ McCollum podcast that came out last summer when KD was on there, and KD was like, you guys aren't serious. And he's eating or chewing something, which is even more disrespectful. Like,
with his White Sox brim on.
He's like, guys, you really, you don't think you win the championship. Y'all stay down. He basically like, y'all stay down there and play with them. We going to handle real business up here. It's like, West Coast Avengers and the real Avengers. It's like Cap didn't say the East Coast Avengers because we don't. We the Avengers, damn it. I mean, that's basically what KD pulled on him. Man. And if they get close to beating Portland, and of course it will be because KD's in there, but it will be karma.
You mean if the series is closer than what they expected? That
Yeah, karma itself will be like, I told you, KD, you shouldn't be like that. Like,
they don't care. If they win, we win.
I'm talking about if Portland. I'm saying if Portland, basically. That's what I'm saying. Not if they win. I'm saying if Portland. Because I mean, listen, look. This series is a lot tighter with KD out of it. That super X factor that they had, now you have best backcourts going against best backcourts. Of course, I would probably lean defensively because of Clay to the Golden State Warriors. But looking at what McCollum is doing and what Dame did in the OKC series, man, listen, I've said it here. To me, Dame is my first-team point guard this year. I think he deserves it. I have him right there. So to see him and Curry, Chef Curry, go at it, it's going to be tasty and spicy. Both of these conference finals are tasty and spicy.
Oh yeah, no, both of these conferences are going to be great. But looking at the Portland Golden State Warriors series, this is basically the first iteration of the dynasty with the Golden State Warriors going up against this new Portland Trailblazer team who has kind of grown up and now finally made it to the Western Conference. The first time since 2000 when Shaq them put them out in that fourth quarter debacle by the Blazers. First time they're back in the Western Conference Finals. But it's kind of like that, and that's why I kind of go back to what we were talking about before with the Warriors and Houston. It's like, listen, they still going up against a championship team. You don't have KD, you don't have Boogie, but remember, this team won a championship the first time, and he won 73 games the next time. But they're older.
No, the bench isn't there.
In the bench, yes. I'm talking about the core, though.
Barbosa
I'm talking about the
bench.
core, though. I'm talking about the core.
I'm just saying, like, if you think about some of the players they had.
I mean,
part of that team was because they had the players they had coming off the bench,
Boris
too.
Diaw and, Barbosa and all those guys,
when you talk about those.
David West.
You still had Harrison Barnes on that team.
You had Harrison Barnes, but at least you still have the original starting five. So you still have to go up against that. Now, I'm with you, though. Of course, this series is a lot closer with KD out. But they might be able to get Boogie back because now they're saying DeMarcus Cousins is a little bit healthy and possibly could return in this series. I don't know how that's going to affect the Warriors' flow because without Boogie and without KD, man, that ball was moving in that second half, really throughout the game, and then Steph Curry just took off in that fourth quarter. But it's going to be a great series, man. I'm very excited about both these conference finals. Listen, if Portland can take out Golden State, then it's up for grabs for anybody. I'm still saying if Golden State makes it to the championship, they're probably going to win, Ken.
Not if they don't have KD. I don't give them I don't say that that's a.
Not even in this series?
I can see them getting past this series.
Okay, give me a percentage.
I would give them 65%, probably 60 to 65%
of still winning Golden State
of beating Portland. Okay. But I don't give them the same numbers against Kawhi or against Giannis, against the Bucks or against. And I'm not saying that they wouldn't be favored, but I think the numbers would be closer to 60 to 55 if they don't have KD. Because I mean, one, you look at what Giannis did, what the Bucks did playing that team this year. They played them well. And you don't have your X factor. And one of the players that were looking to probably play against Giannis was KD. And the thing is, since KD has so many players on his team that could score, he could have focused more on defense. So that's one thing. And then you look at what Kawhi's doing. Hey, Clay can try if he wants to. I don't think he's stopping that beast that's Kawhi Leonard right now.
Well, actually, then you got to think about it like this. Kawhi is probably going to be playing Clay. So that's going to take out Clay. So, yeah, I mean, Clay is a great defender. He's not on the level of Kawhi. Yeah. Because look at what Kawhi was able to do against Jimmy Butler in that last game. Jimmy Butler was the best player on the Sixers throughout this run. And Kawhi was putting up ungodly numbers. The conference finals is going to be great, everybody. Hey, but you know what? We're going to talk some more hoops and maybe a little bit of that too with Bryan Kalbrosky of Hoops Hype. All right, you'll come on with us and talk a little NBA draft and all that. Come on back, D and Davis Show.
What's up, everybody? It's Cameron Smith from CBS 2 Chicago. You're listening to the D and Davis Show.
D and Davis Show right now on the line from Hoops Hype. Also, he's the NBA Wire editor for USA Today. Coming back to the show, we have Bryan Kalbrosky joining us. Bryan, how you doing this evening?
I'm good. Chicago is all the buzz right now, man. So I'm hyped to be talking to you guys out there. There's so much going on with the G League Elite Camp finishing up, heading into the NBA Combine with so many great players, in Chicago right now. But of course, that misses the main point of the NBA draft lottery tonight. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun, following that, heading into the game side too.
Yeah.
Bryan, real quick, with the G League Elite, who are some of the players that we should be paying more attention to that can end up popping up on NBA teams going forward next season?
I think the first name that you'll probably want to watch is Terrence Davis from Ole Miss. He was the one that was considered to be the most impressive by so many out there. He ended up getting an invite to the NBA G League Combine as well. The reporting now, though, is that for the most part, a lot of the other names that a lot of people were very excited about, the teams kind of punted on letting them get an invite to the NBA Combine too, because what that does is it gives them, basically more competition, more eyes from the guys that will be following them in the NBA Combine. So what this eventually does is it kind of helps you hide the players that you like. Some people that I saw that were out there that were really good, Dylan Cheatham out from Arizona State, really, really loved him. Thought that was a huge snub. Ethan Happ out of Wisconsin, another guy who I thought was a really big snub. I'm a huge fan of Robert Franks out of Washington State. He didn't look particularly good on the court during his first scrimmage game, but he's a huge success from the 3-point line during college, shooting 40%, and has a 7'3" wingspan, so he's a long shooter. And then another name that I really put on people's radars is Daquan Jeffries as well, who did get an invite to the NBA Combine. So those would probably be the two: Ethan Happ and Robert Franks, from that didn't get the invite, and then Terrence Davis and Daquan Jeffries. Daquan Jeffries out of Tulsa, who did.
Now, let me ask you this, Bryan: if the Bulls stay at 4, best case scenario, do you think the Bulls are going to go with Garland from Vanderbilt, since the Bulls are looking for a point guard, or are they going to go best player available?
I mean, I think you'd have to consider the possibility of them trading out as well. I think that across the board, it's a fairly tough spot to be in right now for in that 3 to 6 range. Really, there's a consensus 1 and 2. Barrett is probably considered the 3 pick, but after that, I mean, it gets fairly tough. Garland is a fairly ball-dominant player, and so is Zach LaVine, and that begs the question of what you do with Chris Dunn, too. I think that there is a lot more value even a little bit later, within that kind of 11 to 14 range. There are some guys there that I like a lot, with Jackson Hayes out of Texas, Brandon Clark out of Gonzaga, some two-way bigs with those two players. If you want to swing for the fences, maybe go for a Bull who should be there in the late lottery. That's probably what I would do if I were the Bulls. There's going to be a lot of teams that are probably trying to do that, though. So I think that, by showing that hand, you kind of end up, showing that you're not interested, which means you sort of lose a little bit of leverage there. But if there's any way you can even pick up another second-round pick or something to move down and get somebody who maybe fits the system a little bit better, bolstering that front court with Wendell Carter Jr., who's a player that I like a lot, giving him another guy to match his skill set or complement it, would probably be the best fit for me, in my opinion.
Dean Davis on the line right now, Bryan Kalbrosky. Follow him at Bryan Kalbrosky. Bryan, real quick, I want to go to last year's draft when you talk about moving down and getting some value. We had a discussion yesterday about Michael Porter Jr., who was at Mizzou, was high ranked. Of course, he was injured, and now you hear that he's pretty healthy. One, do you think that teams should have really took a swing at him last year, or is it a situation where that back is too iffy and most teams red flagged him and it was better to stay away from him?
I think for across the board, that's a matter of priority in terms of what you value. I mean, he is a player that I fascinated by because I think his upside is so high. But for me, that's somebody that I've kind of put red flags on because I think with you're the Bulls right now, you're going to want to keep a healthy core out there if you're developing your young talent, and that's just not somebody that I'm confident is going to be able to really be on the court. And I think, across the board, while it's obviously super nice to have the flexibility of swinging for the fences, I don't think that's really a position the Bulls are in right now. So that's not what I would do if I were the Bulls. I wouldn't really look at Porter. He's somebody who I kind of have off my board, at least a lot lower than other people have him on theirs. And while I think he definitely has a chance to rehabilitate himself and be probably potentially top 3 or 4 big in this draft, that's not really what I would be doing right now if I were in that position. Based almost entirely on health concerns, to be honest with you.
Bryan, one name that's obviously not going to be in the number one, number two. I'm speaking about R.J. Barrett. Just give me your thoughts on his potential ceiling in the NBA, and also too, let's say if the Bulls are there at 3 or he's there at 4, is there no chance that they just draft him?
Yeah, I think that if they're at 3, like you just said, that's probably the player that I would imagine that they would target. I mean, he's somebody who I think obviously has a ton of potential, and I think will honestly play better playing away from Zion, such a high usage player. He I think is somebody who I think would actually complement Zach LaVine because they're both very, very good athletes. But across the board, I think it's still a little bit far away from what I would probably want out of my top 3 pick. But he was considered a higher pick in a lot of ways coming out of high school than Zion Williamson was, and I think that's really worth considering. Is just this guy has a really, really, really high floor and a really, really high ceiling. So I think there's a lot to like about him too. I think it really just comes down to the projections that you've got within that system, and what kind of offense we're going to be running, and how much we're really putting into what the players what role do we want Zach LaVine to be playing? How much do we want the ball in his hands? I mean, Zach LaVine, I think, is somebody who has a lot of folks really excited right now, but also I think he might have to turn it down just a little notch and play a little bit more efficiently rather than more of a Russell Westbrook type, who I think is a fairly fair comparison to him. So I think for me, I think you kind of do want another star, right? And I think Barrett at least has the potential to be that star.
D and Davis Show on the line with us right now. Bryan Kalbrosky of Hoops Hype. Bryan, you wrote an article not that long ago about Zach LaVine on Hoops Hype, and just kind of showing like his scoring ability around the basket. And now with the extension of Boylen to the Bulls, what do you think about, or how do you feel about Boylen's X's and O's going forward with this team? Obviously the first word that really comes to mind when folks talk about him is his intensity, right? And I think that that's kind of what we would love to see to get Zach LaVine focused. And I think that Boylen is a good fit for him in that sense. LaVine can be a little bit known as a bit of a prima donna, a little bit of a diva type. Mm-hmm. And I think, having kind of a coach that can potentially get the most out of him, you don't want someone who's very laissez-faire and go with the flow. And I think that may have been a little bit of the problem with Hoiberg. You're right. Like, as I said, LaVine is one of the best scorers near the rim and can score in so many ways near the rim. And, when he is ball dominant, can kind of create for himself, too, both out of the pick and roll and just by driving and the ISOs. He's somebody who I think is a very fantastic at least option for a young team, because I think that he's able to score in a lot of different ways. And I like that about him. I think that moving forward, what I'd like to see from him is, an improved confidence and improved the accuracy from the three-point line. That's kind of a universal thing we like to see with more players. But I think with him especially, it would take him from, potentially the kind of jump that we saw with D'Angelo Russell last year. They're different players, but, potentially an Eastern Conference All-Star next season. I think that, if he gels and vibes well with Boylen, then that's a very fair projection for him.
Bryan, you mentioned Bol, and before he blew his ACL out this year at Oregon, he was looked at a player to be at least in the top 6. How do you think his game's going to transition to the pros? He definitely has that perimeter shot, but clearly he's going to play the 5. But how well is it going to transition? And are any other players of value that you can see fitting into the Bulls system that we really haven't heard about in this draft?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question because, I have a lot of interest in Bol for a lot of reasons. I actually went to the University of Oregon and have followed that basketball program very closely, as close as I followed any team in any sport, really. So Bol was somebody that, I was ridiculously excited about heading into the draft or heading into his college process. It was a real bummer for me that, it didn't work out, that he could, really be somebody that ended up getting real playing time for them. Because of his injuries, I also had a chance to see him in the Jordan Brand Classic here in Brooklyn, and then again a year later, kind of watching his year-over-year development. during a tournament here at Madison Square Garden in 2 games. I went to, both games of the tournament. And unfortunately, I thought his touch was a little bit off. One thing that I think that people don't quite realize about him is that he's actually a fairly good playmaker. He could take the ball, at the top of the key and sort of see over everybody and kind of make a play because he just has an edge over his defenders. That was a little bit more of an advantage going against smaller competition in college, but I think it'll play a little bit of a role in the NBA as well. I think it's, fair to compare him in some ways to Porzingis, who also has his own health issues. But I think, across the board, it'll be really interesting to see, what kind of touch and intensity he has going into the next level too. That was a big concern of mine whenever I watched him play, just because I didn't feel that he was playing with the same heart that I would have hoped. I think that, when that $1 million check starts cashing, that might change up a little bit. But I think, you have to really kind of keep him focused too. He's somebody who has, like I said before, a ridiculously high ceiling, but his floor could be out of the league in a few years too, just depending on his health. I think, he's a serviceable player. He's somebody who I think will fit in so many different rotations. And I think that he has, a lot of just natural ability that you can't find from anybody else, really. I mean, he has traits that are near impossible to create, things that you'll never get by working out in the gym, but he has them just based on his own body type and everything else that is really special and worth kind of monitoring, following for him. So I feel that Bol is somebody who can really make or break a team, though. I think that he has a ton of interest around the league, but you're going to want to see the medicals. And if I'm his agent over at CAA, I'm probably going to want to hide those medicals unless they're really good. And I think that, there's a chance those medicals could come out well, but there's also a chance that, there's something in there that the team doesn't like. And that'll really hurt his draft stock. There are mock drafts that I've seen him that have projected somewhere in the 20 range. I mean, he's a top 5 talent if he's healthy. And I'll leave you, at least on the Bol perspective with this. I mean, I've spoken with somebody, in the NBA who's followed Bol fairly closely, and his analysis of it was that if he wanted to, he could have been, the second pick overall in this draft. That was before the injury. He basically told me that Bol easily could have been the second pick over behind Zion, or he could have done literally nothing at all, just nothing, and still been a lottery pick. And that's kind of, I think, what we were starting to see even before he got injured, is he would have been a lottery pick, but he didn't necessarily have to show anything. He was very efficient. He was able to score in several different ways. But to me, I think he could get really bullied by somebody like Steven Adams or Clint Capella, who's just so much bigger than he is.
Dan Davis on the line right now, Bryan Kalbrosky. Bryan, let me ask you this. As far as wing players, you look at, let's say Zion's gone, let's say RJ Barrett is gone, and then you have guys like Jarrett Culver and DeAndre Hunter. What value do you place on them? Which one would you take first and why?
I think that, they're both fairly similar, and I think a lot of it will come down to team fit. And really, I think that is really depending on how you evaluated them. So that is something that, I think a lot of folks are going to have to debate amongst themselves when it comes to, what they're looking for. But if you're looking for somebody on the wing, Barrett, I think, like you said, is really the top pick. But there are certainly some other guys out there who could do fairly well for you. Even Romeo Langford and Nasir Little, 2 guys who have kind of fallen to like 12 and 14 and most mock drafts. Kevin Porter, kind of in the 16 area as well. Those are 3 guys who have the potential to be the best wings in this draft, above even Culver and Hunter. Obviously, Culver and Hunter are getting a ton of love right now because of, what they did to get their teams to the title and, for one of their cases, actually winning the title. But I could fully see a scenario where Nasir Little or Romeo Langford had to play through injury all of last year. Nasir Little is somebody who just really didn't materialize, but he's also very young. So for me, I think that it'll be super interesting to follow something like that. with the overall projections of the mock drafts versus actual reality, because there are certainly players in this draft who could have certainly better careers than what we've seen based on the mock drafts and everything.
Two more names for you that I'm interested in seeing with how they do in the NBA at the next level. It's Rui Hachimura and Cam Reddish. What do you think about those two guys?
I think Reddish is somebody who really does have a good NBA body, but I just don't see it for me based on his hustle and his love for the game. I mean, there's a chance that could be proven to be incorrect, when I actually watch him play and when things actually take hold on the court at the NBA level. But he just did not show me what I wanted to see, when I was watching him play before this. So
should he probably stay in school?
This was with Reddish. That's what you asked about, right?
Yeah. Should he probably just go back to Duke? I mean, in your opinion, should he probably just stay and get another year of maturation at school?
No. I mean, if he wants that money, which I can't imagine many people saying no to it, he's probably going to be a top 10, at least a lottery pick, though. So, I mean, things could get worse another season at Duke. This might be the eclipse of his value. I mean, right now, a lot of times, you're drafting on the unknown in some ways of him getting better. And if you see a year of him potentially not getting better, that might not be a good thing. So I would definitely say that I would stay in the draft. I mean, to me, there aren't too many people who I could really see going back to college, who are considered first-round picks. I mean, if you're a first-round pick, you're probably saying in this draft, the people who I imagine are going back to college are Charles Bassey, Devin Dotson, Moses Brown, and Jalen Leck. They're all players who are, going to be at the Combine in Chicago this week, but are probably second-round picks. And they probably feel with a year in college, or another year in college, rather, they have a chance of really turning that around. If you're going to be a lottery pick like Reddish, I think you're going to stay in this draft. And then who was the other player you asked about?
Rui?
Oh, Rui is interesting, too. He's got a really good NBA body, but he's somebody who, didn't really have the success on the court that you would have really liked to have seen. I like Rui. I'm high on him, but I feel that, there's some potential there if the game is not translating because, he wasn't as even successful at the college level. I think that he's somebody who, in the right system with the right coaching, maybe a team like the Spurs, you could get like a good shooting coach around him and really try to take him like silly putty. He's got so much potential there. But in the same token, he is already one of the older prospects in this draft. And I think typically, when you do something like that, you typically want to do that with somebody who's a little bit younger than he is. So again, a very interesting prospect. He's somebody who I would want on my team, but if he fell out of the lottery, I would for sure take him just for the pure value question. But if he were somebody who we're looking at with the 7 or the 8 pick, that might be a bit of a reach for me.
Dan Davis on the line right now, Bryan Kalbrosky. Bryan, let me ask you this. Let's get out of the future and talk about the present. How vulnerable do you have Golden State right now? Do you have them getting past do you have them getting past Portland if Durant doesn't come back? And also, if Durant doesn't come back full strength for the finals, do you have Golden State taking the finals this season?
Yeah, the Golden State is still my pick to win the championship, although I could really see Milwaukee doing it too. It's going to be a really interesting series with Portland. I'm going to be very curious to see how they contain both Dame and CJ. If both of them are going, it's been, kind of few and far between, and we see both of them coming in hot at the same time. But I think that I could definitely see scenarios, though, where they do look very good at the same time. And, you have Clay on one of them, but Steph wasn't able to contain the other one. But if Kevin Durant does come back, that's a really tough ask for Al-Farouq Aminu or whoever it might be in their front court to try to contain KD. I mean, KD is such an amazing player. I mean, I don't need to spend much time talking to you about that. You all know that KD is very good. Mm-hmm. But the idea of having, someone to guard him, at least in some teams' cases, could be easier than other teams' cases, and I don't really see anybody on Portland having that, and that's probably why in a lot of ways I see that being a tough series for Portland. But it's also a team that in Golden State that has done super well without KD in the past. So they did win 73 games without him with mostly the same core. So it'll be for me conversation of Kevin Durant's health, and even with Kevin Durant's health, I think there's still a really good chance that Golden State wins it. I commend Portland for sticking to their process and for keeping their team alive. There's been a lot of conversations over the years of breaking that backcourt up. That's been something that has been on people's radar since they've really first not done particularly well in the playoffs. But I see them only continuing to get better, only continuing to improve next to each other, and I see them being contenders in the Western Conference for years to come. And I hope that they really get a chance to show that they can be contenders for a potential forward down the line if they could potentially move off maybe a Myers Leonard contract or an Evan Turner contract. Probably in that case Myers Leonard, because Evan Turner has been key to their locker room. Maybe they could bring Kenter back on a discount if he likes it there. Same thing with Rodney Hood. Both have been really, really good players for their respective teams, for their team this season. So that's something that I would really like to see in Portland as I'm keeping this core together. But I think it'll be super interesting from my perspective to see if they can potentially get a wing in some way, because that's going to be a huge answer to the question with regards to Kevin Durant in the future.
Eastern Conference Finals, Bucks, Raptors, what you got?
The Bucks, for me, with the way Giannis is playing, that's I don't see anybody being able to stop him. I like Toronto, and obviously Kawhi Leonard is really the talk of the town right now after his incredible shot, and he should be. But I think that what I'd like to see is really just a Steph versus Giannis showdown in the NBA championship. I think that obviously, there's a ton of potential there for some really big questions to be answered about, what Giannis is in this league, how deserving he is to take the crown as the best player in this league. And I think that he will get to that point too, if he's not there already.
Bryan, real quick before we let you go, where's your draft lottery fall? Even if you're making it up off the cuff right now, at least give me 1 through 5.
Bulls number 1. No.
Yeah, Bulls number 1 just because I'm on the radio in Chicago. But if it's not the Bulls, I wouldn't mind it being the Knicks, because I live here in New York, and I would not mind having a couple subway stops away to actually getting the chance to watch Zion play and watch that materialize. So that's probably what I would be personally picking. But outside of that, I would probably say, let's see, John Morant I think would be really good in the Suns backcourt with Devin Booker. That would probably be a good number 2. Probably R.J. Barrett in Cleveland, where he can kind of be the guy over there. That would be an interesting fit. And then I think, getting some talent around Trae Young and Luka Doncic would be probably the next best option for me. The pick is protected top 5. Or top 4 rather, which means if it's not in the top 5, the pick for Dallas conveys to Atlanta. So I would like to see it Dallas somewhere in that top 4, and then probably Atlanta somewhere in that top 5, just to give them the most options around Trae Young, who I really want to see have as good of a team around him as possible, because I could see that being a really interesting team for a long time because of that amazing young player. So I'd love that.
All right, we shall see. Bryan, man, thank you so much for hopping on with us. Love the breakdown and everything, man. Got to get you back on soon.
Have a good one.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time.
No doubt. And that was Bryan Kalbrosky of Hoops Hype, breaking it down, man. Very detailed answers to all of our questions right there. All right, next up, we're going up for grabs with one Mr. Ryan Bukoveski, D. and Davis Show.
What's up, Chicago? This is Chris Sosa from Red Eye, and you're listening to the D. and Davis Show.
D. and Davis Show. It's time for one of my most favorite moments of the week. It comes to the show, we do this for sure. But it's time for Up for Grabs with one Mr. Ryan Bukoveski. Ryan, what you got for us?
Well, thanks so much for that intro, D. I hope that you guys appreciate these questions, and I hope that I can live up to the hype this week. And let's start off with the NBA playoffs.
Jalen, I want you to start this one. Who takes this series?
I'm going Bucks with home court advantage and Giannis in 6.
Chauncey?
This is going to be tough, but I'm going to go Bucks in 7.
Paul? Who wins the series?
I'm going to go Toronto on this one.
Wow. How many?
Surprise.
Kawhi Leonard is playing the best basketball. I'm going with Kawhi Leonard and the Toronto Raptors.
Oh, man. The entire country just went.
6.
And we have reached the conference finals, and perhaps injuries will even the series somewhat in the West. But as for the East, the Bucks are the favorites to beat the Raptors and represent the East in the finals. In your opinion, what is the key to winning the series for the Bucks and the Raptors, and who is your winner?
That's a hard one, dude.
That is a hard one. I'm going to go. See, the one thing about the Bucks, you have to bank on their shooting still being there. You have the Greek freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think I got that right.
Antetokounmpo.
Oh, thank you. You have him, who I think is probably going to be the MVP of the league, who has been playing phenomenal in his playoff run. But when you have somebody like Kawhi and just the defense and the mugginess of Toronto, you got a shot. I'm gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna say Toronto is gonna beat the Bucks and go to the NBA final.
It's not that big of a limb if we both on it.
Oh, okay.
I mean, my thing is this. Definitely the Bucks are better than the 76ers.
No doubt.
See, this is the thing about this playoffs. We saw some teams grow up. Like, that's one thing you got to, you saw Portland grow. You saw Denver grow. You saw, even though it's not going to last, Toronto grow because Kawhi's leaving. But to see the 76ers.
Still holding up hope for the Sixers. Don't stay.
But looking at the 76ers and just a lot of players thrown into the mix during the season. And I have fault with Brett Brown, but looking at what they did and how that offense started to click at different times and the amount of weapons they send at you, it kind of goes to your point as far as the three-point shooting stops for the Bucks. Because one thing we know that won't stop is Kawhi Leonard.
Nope.
He will not stop. And it's the thing, too.
He's a machine.
I felt like against Toronto versus the Sixers that Kyle Lowry towards the later end of that series start to be like, hey, I'm Kyle Lowry, ain't got to worry about nothing out here or whatever like that. And I think he'll carry that same energy until this series to where, I mean, he's not that worried about Bledsoe. You know what I'm saying? Like, not to the point, yeah.
Right.
You know, so he's had a better career than Bledsoe's had so far in the NBA. So it's not one of those situations where he's going to be out there getting exploited. So I think there'll be even more help as long as Siakam can stay healthy. You start looking at when we talk about all the players around Giannis, but man, when you start to see lazy, he's not lazy, but old Serge Ibaka, kind of clicking and coming on at certain points.
Slow you down.
Even Marc Gasol. Yeah, so look, I'm with you. I gotta go with best player. Right now in the East, the best player is Kawhi Leonard. Like, I'm going with best player.
I'm gonna go with who I think is just gonna be the best team, because I think this is definitely a team effort, obviously. But I just think I like the way Toronto is playing with their great player, no doubt. But shooter can go. It can just it can Thanos snap dust away. If you can go through a series and on top of that, you want to have one of the best defensive teams in the playoffs still right now with Toronto, who can throw it all off. Man, listen, they ain't shooters like Golden State. They're not that kind of shooters. I know you got Giannis, but you don't have those kind of shooters that can just kind of spark up and just burn it down real quick. It's not that. I like how Toronto is playing. I really, really do.
Boy, going back and forth on this one for myself, I think I want to go Toronto, but I'm going to go with Milwaukee. I really like how Toronto's playing. Like you guys are saying, I agree with everything you've said, but I think Milwaukee's a better shooting team, and they've got a lot of shooters, and when they get hot, they seem pretty unbeatable in the Eastern Conference. So I think that's going to be the big key for Milwaukee is can they get those shooters going with Giannis and the defense that Toronto's going to give, because Giannis is probably going to have his most difficult series in this series, especially with Kawhi on him.
Yeah. I think you're going to get Pascal Siakam on.
Oh, yeah. Well, you get Pascal, and then you'll probably get Kawhi in the fourth quarter or in the crunch time.
Them, yeah.
Marc Gasol at times, too, for sure.
Yeah, there
and
you
he's
go.
a great defender.
Yep.
With Toronto, I think the key for them is when Kawhi is smart late in games to take over, because I don't trust Kyle Lowry to be that number 2, to be the difference. And even though Pascal Siakam is more the number 2, a little bit of injury question marks with him. That's why I'm not sure who that number 2 is going to be behind Kawhi. Can he do it at the right time in the right moment of the game where he can use his familiarity, his experience in playoff games versus Giannis, who's still learning on the job?
There you go.
Can that be the difference? So ultimately, I think Giannis is going to get it done, though, and beat him. Now moving over to the baseball diamond.
So I snagged Fleming seats to the Marlins Braves game. You, me, beer, baseball. What more could a guy want?
And the dwindling of winter sports as we're getting through the NBA playoffs, and we're going to be focusing now on the baseball sports scene. So let me ask you guys, what has been the most interesting storyline in the 2019 baseball season so far to you?
I mean, I'm going here. I got to go.
Little disclaimer, this is in my feelings up for grabs. Everything's going to be how you feel. What has been the storyline to you?
I gotta go here in Chicago. I would say, I want to say initially the Cubs, from people who were just so much doom and gloom at the beginning of the season to now them having the best record in the National League. And then the fact that, to be honest with you, you look at the fact that they missed out on Manny Machado, and just the fact that Moncada didn't look good last season. And even though Tim Anderson took a step, I don't think we thought he was going to take not to say he'll win it, but an MVP type step. So when you start to see, and especially when we were talking to Shawn about the fact that the Sox have always had problems with bringing up their own everyday players, when you're starting to see cornerstones for the future starting to show you signs of what you thought they were supposed to do, it's like, okay, hold on. So for me, for baseball, it will definitely be a narrow view, a local view. It's the Cubs showing how great of a team they are, and the White Sox showing that perhaps they didn't make some bad decisions in some of the trades that they made in this rebuild.
I'm going to keep it local, and honestly, I gotta talk about both teams. The fact that the White Sox are playing as well as they're playing, and the pitching is terrible, I have a good feeling because I think I'm going to have a fun summer. The first time in a while for my baseball team, I'm going to possibly have a fun summer. Selfishly, I don't think they're going to win anything, obviously. But selfishly, I'm looking forward to that. But just on the field, numbers, everything, man, listen. The Cubs remind me of the team that won it all. And the way they are playing, and the fact that how deep they are going, how deep they are, and all of the guys, as Shawn just said, haven't even started clicking yet.
Yeah.
The division is tight, and I'm not going to say they're going to win the division just yet. I'm not going to say that because I think, as we spoke about it before, Cincinnati is always going to be a little pest, but they're better. St. Louis is better. And you have, I'm blanking right now, Milwaukee. Milwaukee they just won a division last year. So the competition and seeing what they're going to be able to do has my juices flowing as just being a sports fan. So I'm going to keep it local, but I got to touch on both sides of town.
The storyline for the baseball season so far, I'm going to stick local as well. And not that I haven't been watching the entire grand scheme of baseball, but I think that is truly where the hottest stories are right now, because you got the Cubs as really this team that's looking like 2016 again. Ton of great storylines. We can go through the individuals, all that stuff. But right now it looks like their weakness is still the same thing, bullpen, but that has really settled down. And if they get another arm or two, which they're going to add an arm. Theo's going to add an arm, whether it's a big name or some kind of name, but it's going to be added. We'll see if that makes a big impact later on in the season. But overall, they're rolling. I look at the White Sox. I want them to get another starting pitcher somehow. I want them to compete because my storyline is we might have two teams really competing for stuff late in the season. The White Sox maybe not so much because of their rebuild, but they're going to have a ton of talent coming up with these kids, and that could be a ton of boost or that energy that you get sometimes with prospects. We saw that with the Cubs in 2015. These young kids just kept coming up, and they would go on this hot streak, and the team would just go.
Yep.
Maybe the White Sox can get that if they can just get another starter that can really just give them a quality start day in and day out.
Hopefully you keep Lucas going. Hope you keep Lopez
right. They
going.
got to keep going as well. But if you got
About
another
to get
guy,
shelled next week.
Don't you say that.
but so far Giolito has continued to look fine.
Don't trust the matinee looks.
Yeah, but you got to give at least a little nugget of he's on my radar for right now. Last question for y'all. Let's move over to a passion of ours. Unfortunately, maybe Game of Thrones. If anybody hasn't heard of it, Stick to the Thrones podcast, because I listened to it this morning, Ken, so I had to have some reaction on it.
Ken was on it.
Okay, first of all, what happened? I mean, I
haven't watched yet, so don't spoil it for me.
I guess I gotta do the preliminaries first. All right, this is Stick to Thrones, and along with me is Danny Parkins, host of the Manila Parkins Show, Chris Tannehill, king of the board and sound of the Manila Parkins Show, and new guest on the show, Ken Davis of the D and Davis Show.
And I wanted to get some of your thoughts, and especially wanted to know from you two with young Tony Gill, because how he was sounding on there.
I told you, man, when something doesn't go right according to how Tony thought or think it should go, he exits stage left. He's done. He's gonna watch the last episode. We have a text line going, obviously, and after it, Tony was like, "I'm not even gonna watch the next episode." I'm like, this is the last one. You might as well. You'd have spent all this time downloading, watching these shows. Actually went past us one time on an episode. He went into the future, and now you're gonna say you're not gonna watch the final episode because it didn't happen the way you wanted it to happen. Come on now, man. You finish the episode. Finish the season.
Yeah, he sounded like how I did last year with the show, like realizing it's not what it is anymore. But many hardcore fans are upset with the way the characters and the plot points have developed. But based on how everything has developed to this point, you can't alter things. What is your ideal ending, in your opinion, to the way Game of Thrones can end based on the way things have set up to this point?
I'll go.
Go, please go ahead.
Cersei and John crying. Not Cersei. Daenerys and John crying as they both die from somehow wounds inflicted on one another.
Who are they fighting?
Each other. It's a civil war now. So I think that'll probably be, because I mean, if you really like the thing with Jaime was stupid, him and Cersei, and I think it'll be something here for, or even if it's that she's dying and she acquiesces her right to the throne to him, but them dying with hurting one another, I think is that's all that can be left. And again, if you heard on the podcast, for anybody to go out there, make sure you download and follow Stick to the Thrones. Tony does a great job there. I think Sansa's going to be, we've all said this, she's going to be the queen of the hand.
Yeah, that's my prediction. The Sansa to be.
But is that your ideal? Is that what you want to happen?
I mean, this is the thing. I don't think Jon should live because he died already. To me, that's too, you're giving the fans a lot of what they want. Like, and they always hinted, like I said on the show yesterday, when he used to tell Melisandre, if I die again, do not bring me back. And just his reluctantness. Well,
she gone, so he can't do it.
Yeah, his reluctantness to, but I'm just saying that here he doesn't want to be here. His reluctantness to lead, I think he needs to die. Let me go. The story should end with him dying. It shouldn't end with him. It'd be too cheesy if he's on the Iron Throne moving forward, or he's the king of the kingdom. It would be, it's like, really, we did all this for the likeliest of outcomes? Like, no. Like, look, to be honest with you, I would prefer now if Danny sits there and just keeps burning everybody and their mama. Because at least it'd be like, well, hey, as Bolton said, you look at the story, you thought it was going to end happy? You know, like, I'd be happy that way. Something different, because they've been giving us too much simplicity. The fact that you sat there and Tyrion had the nerve, I didn't curse, had the nerve to mention again Cersei loving her kids. And it's like, dude, how many times? Like, real quick, I want to use this analogy last night. Have you all been in a situation where maybe at school, maybe a job, someplace you weren't performing at your optimum, and maybe your boss or someone had critiqued twice and kind of be like, hey, you kind of not on your game, and you thinking maybe it's one of the time where it's during a recession and stuff where people are getting cut, and you're like, man, I need to do something because man,
I've been there before.
They cutting heads out here, right?
Oh yeah.
And what was your reaction when that happened?
I went harder.
Okay, so Tyrion, after bumbling for the last year and a half, is still talking about Cersei ain't like this. Man, if you don't shut your up right now.
I think he's definitely looking at it as if like, you know what? Who's the dude that got lit on fire in Varys? I think he finally sees like, damn, he was right. You know what? Let me go get my brother. We getting up out of here. Go get our sister so she can have her kid. We bouncing. I think that's what he was thinking. I don't even think
he thought it was time to commit treason.
Oh yeah. No doubt. So I think he finally saw the writing on the wall.
For that,
yeah.
But I mean, he knew what was going to happen to Varys. He snitched on him. He was going to burn.
Yeah, no doubt.
So it wasn't a shocking that.
No. I'm not saying that it was shocking anything on that measure. I just think that
I don't think he was saying we all gonna hook, like me, you, and Cersei about to go get an island somewhere and we gonna relax. I mean, I think he said
told her to meet me at the boat.
Remember what he said to Jaime. If we can convince Cersei to give up, then she probably won't kill me.
Yeah.
So he wasn't saying let's necessarily us three get out of here and flee. He was saying if you got that voodoo that you do so well with sis, go talk to her. If she's gonna lose, no one has to die, and then maybe Daenerys won't kill me then because I served this.
Right.
But then also Daenerys two-dimensionalness. It's like what? Like why was I here? Like you've done this characters, like it doesn't take a lot for y'all to kind of mimic what George R. Martin was doing.
Right. No, I think it does.
Not for me. Because I could have done it. And then look, man, I'm saying it would have been as good.
This is showing you. I talked to a guy, I mean to cut you off. I talked to a guy who I work with. He's read all the books. And I didn't know this. I'm a fan, but I'm like a hardcore fan, right? And he said, listen, the way Martin writes, he has his plot points, but then he just kind of, in a sense, freestyles his way to those plot points. He told the writers, hey, these are the plot points, you go. And I guess he wanted them to do what he does. Obviously, this shows you, this dude is a mastermind when it comes to the pen and making these stories. These two cats that wrote this could not do what he do. He basically said, you do what I do. Now go out there and do it. And they obviously, and to hardcore fans' feelings, they failed.
But I think it
ain't that easy.
I'm not saying it's that easy, but I think a lot of people could have done better jobs in this.
Well,
I mean, a lot of people freestyle the way that you're saying too. Like you usually set up, like anytime you're writing a story, you kind of know the parameters of the story anyway. You kind of know how you want it to end, what's the biggest parts of the story. So again, I'm not saying that anyone can write his characters as well as he, but I think just thinking deeper. Like it's
you're saying, Ken.
Yeah,
it's like they're doing the opposite
of what
they did earlier, and George did.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
All you have to do is look.
Why are you going the opposite?
They spin on the story. It's not his story.
I don't even think they put in a spin. I just think they're getting the hell out of Dodge with some fat checks.
Oh, that could be part of it too.
Going to what you're just saying, it does not take a lot to keep a character close to the original narrative of that character. It does not take a lot. You know, okay, wait, we're doing this. But wait, she doesn't do it like that. She thinks like this. You right. So we gotta write it like, and they were just like, we gotta get out of here. Star Wars, we gotta start working on that Star Wars. Like, what the hell is going on?
Like Tyrion is supposed to be the smart one, right? Mm-hmm. Why is he doing stupid thing after stupid thing after stupid thing
and not learning? So his job was on the line, right? This is my initial point.
Yeah, go
his job was on the line, and he said, "I'm tripling down on up." Sorry. I had that's what he basically said. Like, and it's like, wait,
but that was my thing. It seems as if I could be completely wrong.
And this is George R. Martin's favorite character to write for.
But it seems as if, just looking at the story, how they made the arc for that character, he finally saw what was happening, and he was saying, I'm getting the hell out of Dodge. And I'm going to free my brother,
But he didn't. That's not what his plan was.
He
we
freed
just
his
went
brother.
over what his plan was. That's not.
He freed his brother.
But that wasn't his plan, D. You just admitted it wasn't his plan. Then you went back to saying.
I think it's his plan.
No, D. How is that his plan?
I'm gonna go back to it.
When he just said, "I'm gonna die here." Probably because I committed treason, but get our sister to quit so all these people doesn't. That was his plan. It wasn't this, we're fleeing together.
He wasn't
what
leaving with
show
them.
are you watching? What is going on in his head half the time? He has his own stories up there, and it's like, I guess
Yeah,
so.
Tyrion was letting him. He was not going to go with
But
them.
he never went into the city, so obviously he's going to be in the next episode.
Who didn't go into the city?
Well, eventually he didn't go in there with was going. I'm sorry. When things were going down. When things were going down, he didn't go in there, and he kind of appeared at the end of it, kind of walking around like, "Oh my God, what did she just do?"
What is your ideal?
My ideal ending is, I honestly, the way it's going, I think Jon is going to live. I think he's going to kill Dany because Arya is going to come for her, and then it's going to be one of those things like a big bad villain ending. He has to save his sister from the big bad villain, and he's going to take out Dany. But I think he's going to be like, listen, I told you, I don't want the throne, so he's going to ride onto the sunset.
Is this is your ideal ending? This is what you want to happen?
Yeah, why not? Well, I don't care. I'm here for the ride. I really don't care. I think he's going to ride onto the sunset, and I think his sisters, maybe Arya will be the hand, and Sansa will be on the throne. That's what I think is going to happen. Ideally, they should have all died a long time ago. And they could have kind of like, if you put these characters in these crazy positions to die, and miraculously, I think I said that word right, but some way, somehow they kind of found their way out of it, which I've been saying for a while. This is so Hollywood. It's not Martin, right? It's not Martin's style.
It's not the show.
It's not the show, but they've been able to pull this off. So you know what? Bump it.
Yeah, looking at, like, again, what they've set up, because I would have redone season 7 and 8. I wouldn't have had them do it the way that they did it. I would have kept that same formula they did 1 through 6. But based on what has happened, what I want to happen.
Yeah, what do you want to happen?
I can't lose more than one Stark. I want 3 Starks to live at the end.
So all 3, that's what I said. All 3.
Out of the 4.
Bran.
Oh, Bran. Oh, yeah, I forgot about Bran. Maybe Bran is even gone. Maybe he's done.
Well, part of me just wants the Starks because I fell in love with those characters as it went, and now they're just a bunch of mess on the TV screen. So I want to pluck out the good stuff that I like, and I've always liked all 4 of those characters.
So you want 3 out of the 4 to survive?
Because I think one of them has to go. But who knows? Maybe all 4 will live. Maybe everybody will live. Have a chorus line at the end.
I'm telling you, man, it's
You
Hollywood.
can kill all of them for all I care.
I can see all of them.
You think Daenerys isn't going to get any revenge on any Stark?
I think one of them has to go.
Can the many-faced guy protect you from dragon fire? Whoa, you burnt that one. You like.
But you can't see all of them staying alive.
I don't care. You want to finish the segment?
See? Wow.
I hope the Bulls get a top pick. Otherwise, you're going to be really upset.
Right?
Hey, man, I'm just along for the ride. That was an interesting show.
All right. Coming back on the other side of this break, Shawn Sierra from Shawn and Maya in the Morning is going to join us. We're going to talk Bears and also baseball, both teams in the city. D and Davis Show.
Hey, this is Rich Campbell from the Chicago Tribune, and you're listening to the D and Davis Show.
D and Davis, and lucky enough in studio, we have the co-host of Shawn and Maya in the Morning, the one, the only Superback, Shawn Sierra. Hi, Shawn, how you doing?
What's going on, man? How you doing,
Shawn?
So anybody, make sure you check out their show Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. on live on Logic Radio. Also, you can get it on the Shawn and Maya app. You can also go to Facebook/the Sports Chica/post to watch them live. So make sure when you get up in the morning, you click that on, you enjoy it, you take that sports knowledge in, and then you go on about your day. But Shawn, how you doing? We appreciate it, man.
I'm good, man. I'm real good. Thanks for having me in.
No problem. We always appreciate it. All of us. Shawn, you went to IMS, didn't you? Or probably
I did.
ICB back then. 'Cause I remember seeing you around. You had to come out to us because I think I remember seeing you in the lobby.
15 is when I graduated.
Okay. Yeah, we were 12.
Yeah, we were 12.
April nights.
Yeah.
April nights. We started at 14 and finished at 15.
Man, do it at nighttime. I got to do this and I got to go do this. Yeah, real.
How big was your class?
I want to say it dwindled. I think we finished with 8 8 people final that graduated.
Okay. Wow. All right. Yeah, we had how many?
We had maybe close to 30.
To start off.
Yeah, and then it got down to maybe 21, 20.
Yeah, I think at least 20 of us graduated.
Yeah, we had 2 teachers. But anyway, I got to get into, we got the super back in here. So I'm sorry, Shawn. I know you can talk all sports, but since you are a football man, we got to do football first.
Let's go.
Oh, darn.
I'm sorry. So you're the super back. All right. You played the Holy Cross. You played in Italy. Matter of fact, when you played in Italy, was that the NFL?
No, it wasn't. There's just an actual league, believe it or not, of American football in Italy.
That seems sexy, brother.
Really?
Did you you enjoyed yourself a little over there?
Let's just say I didn't think anything could get better than college, and I was wrong.
I bet.
I was wrong.
I've heard Italy is kind of place. Matter of fact, we go bowling in the morning, Sunday mornings with my father-in-law and his buddies. And one of the guys was in the service. He's like, "Yeah, man, I was stationed over Italy, had a great time. Yeah, man, I got 2 twins over there." I was like, "Damn, I guess you did have."
Shawn, you got any twins? You got any twins? Little super backs.
You know what? I don't have any kids that I know of.
Okay.
I figured they would have found me with the internet by now, but who knows?
Pushing Maseratis.
Poppy.
But listen, so let's start off with a position that was key. D was a Jordan Howard guy. You were a guy that was with Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard's gone. It seems like the replacement is David Montgomery. What were your thoughts on the selection of David Montgomery?
Perfect fit. Like we talked about before, square peg for a square hole. I think it's a perfect fit for him. The only issue that I have, not issue, but the only thing I need to see is his pass pro. It's a whole different thing in college as opposed to the NFL. So he can run the ball, obviously. He can catch the ball, even though he had limited attempts. But he can do it. He has good hands. He catches real easy. So when I noticed that about him on film, I liked his hands, nice and soft, very easy. The one thing that I do love about him is his cutback ability. He did lead the NCAA Division I in making people miss. I think it was 99 missed tackles he caused. So that's the kind of guy you want. That's the kind of guy Matt Nagy is drooling over right about now.
Being a former running back, what are some of the first things you start watching when you start breaking down running backs?
I watch their eyes first. Their eyes. Do they tip off where they're going? Then I watch their feet, their patience. Are they patient? Do they hit the hole and just try and smack it up in there? I mean, of course you need it on 3rd and 1, but if you're patient, if you let your blocks develop and then you make your move, I look for that. I make sure there's patience, and then when it's time to hit the hole, you hit that hole.
Were there any other running backs? You had Henderson that went before. You had Staley that went after. Would you have chosen them, or was David Montgomery the perfect, as you just said, square peg for the square hole?
There were a lot of good backs that fit this system. I mean, the kid out of Penn State, Miles Sanders, would have been nice. Was it Darrell Thompson out of Memphis? He would have been nice as well. Although I didn't want running backs. I didn't want a running back 5'9" or shorter.
Okay,
give me 5'10" and taller. I don't know why. I just don't. I don't like short running backs. Okay, and Montgomery was 5'10" and change, 5'11", somewhere in there. So that worked. Some of the other guys were good. Devin Singletary was a little short. But the one thing I did like about Devin Singletary, he scored 66 touchdowns in his career there. He had 32 in 2 seasons ago. 3rd, I believe, in college behind Barry Sanders, and I can't remember who was 2nd. But that dude scores, and that's something you can't teach. When you have a nose for the end zone, that's something that you have to look at really, really long and hard.
So you say you don't like running backs under 5'9". What's up with Cohen then? Is he just that special?
No. Let me take that back. Let me add. I don't like running backs
under
5'9", 5'9" to be your every down back. Okay. All right, but Tariq Cohen, I love what he does because he's a joker, he's a wild card, whatever they call him in that position. Mm-hmm. He does a whole bunch of different things. But if you're a guy who's going to carry the rock, 10 to 20 or 20 to 25 times a game, if they do so, or the main ball carrier, so to speak, make them a little bigger, a little stronger, a little heavier.
Dan Davis right now in studio. We have Shawn Sierra, co-host of Shawn and Maya in the Morning. Follow him at Shawn Sierra. Shawn, real quick, before we get back to the Bears, you mentioned something. I have high issues with people, too. I don't like diminutive basketball players or quarterbacks.
Always got something to get shorty guys.
What were your thoughts on Kyler Murray going number 1? And if you were in that position, would you have drafted him number 1?
With the head coach they got, yes, probably. Mm-hmm. Because it's more, the offenses in the NFL are moving a lot, moving toward college offenses. Mm-hmm. So you got a guy who excelled in a college offense. You got a guy who coached in college. It's kind of a perfect fit. So I think it'll be okay for a while. I ain't mad at him. I'm happy for him. I'm glad he took the money and ran.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
People talked about baseball long career. I'm like, but by the time you get to that big money, you're 27, 28. Mm-hmm. And he got his money today.
Got it now.
Today. He got guaranteed.
He got like 30?
34 mil.
Yeah.
37 guaranteed. Woo. Yeah. So
this exposure with NFL too is just there for him.
Yeah. It's he was he is a little short, but people who have a problem with short quarterbacks must not like Drew Brees, because Drew Brees is no taller than me. And funny story, I'm 5'10" and 7/8. Every time when I was at school, the scouts would come out and they'd measure us. We'd run a little pro day at our at Holy Cross, and my freshman year, I had a little more hair than I do now, and so they come in and they measure me like 5'10", 7/8. I was like, damn. All right, so sophomore year, I come and said, all right, I'm gonna stand a little taller, maybe stretch my neck a little bit. They, try to push my hair down. 5'10", 7/8. God bless it. I'm like, all right. You know what? I'm gonna kind of just maybe get up on my toes just a tad, just to get. Yeah. So sure enough, my junior year, I get up there, and the guy's he's measuring me. He's just about to measure me. I just go up just a tad, and he passed me in the head. Like, 5'10", 7/8. I'm like, son of a biscuit. And then the last year, I was just like 5'10", 7/8, and they measured me like 5'10", 7/8. I'm like, I know. So I could never get to 5'11". So, but Drew Brees is no bigger than me. I've met him a couple times. He's right about my height. So, if you have an issue with short quarterbacks and you don't think they can play in the NFL, I beg to differ.
I mean, you brought up the simple fact of how the college game is kind of going to the pros. Being a guy who played college and pro, what do you think? How do you feel about that?
I like it. It gives more people. Put it this way, it gives more specialists a chance. So you get the Devin Singletaries, you get the Tariq Cohens, because if it wasn't like that, you have a lot more jet sweeps, a lot more, not necessarily trick plays, but a lot more plays out in the open where you get guys in space and allow them to make a play. And, you don't have to be 220 pounds. You actually want to be 160, 180, and, with some jukeability. That's an old word I just made up. Mm-hmm. So, you want that in the open field, and, the lighter guys are usually the ones who can do it.
Look, speaking of jet sweeps, the Bears went back into the draft, and I want to get into some of the other picks, but they drafted Karif White. What were your thoughts on them picking up Karif White? You already have Tariq Cohen, but looking at this kid who is a speed demon and what he can do, what do you expect? Also, he can play special teams also in the return, but also that he's going to be a tackling cat out there also. But what were your thoughts in bringing in Karif White, and did you see anything on tape that you liked or disliked?
Oh, heck yeah, man. Speed. There's no substitute for speed. They're going to use him on kick returns. They have the punt returner in Tariq Cohen. They got him. They have Cordell Patterson that they signed as well. He's going to be used for kick returns too, but this guy's much cheaper. Mm-hmm. He's in a 4-year deal that he just signed. So he's speed. And with Matt Nagy, I love what he's done as far as creating plays and scheming people open. And you know what? You have Taylor Gabriel, who didn't live up to expectations last year. Some of it was injury. Some of it was maybe just not having everybody on the same page because of the first year of the offense. Well, now you have him. Now you have Emmanuel Hill. Now you have Karif White. Mm-hmm. You got speed. Speed kills. There's no substitute for it. And, it doesn't matter where they put him. Speed. You have to. Now the thing is, you can't double team somebody because you have too much speed on that field. Because if you double team somebody and someone makes or you lean towards someone, or Mitch sees you leaning towards something, he might change one specific route on the play and have you go like a corner route. If that's if a single high safety and he's cheating to his right, he might have a corner route or a post corner to the opposite side. So it's speed. It keeps everybody. Keeps them playing, keeps them honest.
Shawn Sierra right here, D and Davis Show, co-host of the Shawn and Maya Show. You're talking about speed, you're talking about all these guys, and now on the offensive side of the ball, you have Mitchell Trubisky. Your thoughts on his maturation, what you expect to see him upcoming season? He doesn't have any excuses now. He got a lot of toys to play with.
He had no excuses last year. Last year was the first year of that offense, so it was very difficult. You got to remember, not only does he have to learn a new offense, but the offensive line has to learn a new offense. The running backs have to learn a new blocking scheme. The wide receivers have to learn new passing routes, new passing trees. They have to new option routes. And then you have to get on the same page for option routes. Mitch Trubisky doesn't know how fast Taylor Gabriel is, doesn't know Allen Robinson's tendencies. It's all a learning process. So from week 1 to week 18, which is that wild card week, that's a complete one. It's a huge step for Mitch Trubisky. And the coming of age moment for him, in my eyes, was Bears are down. He drives them down, hits that touchdown pass to Allen Robinson. That's a big boy moment.
Yep.
That's a big boy moment for him. Bears go up, but then they go down again. He drives them down the field again for the game-winning field goal, and then double doink happens. That's not on him.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is he didn't do it once. He did it twice in the same game, in a playoff game. That's big time, and that's where you can see. I'll tell you what, a good buddy of mine works for the Bears. He's in that room. So he's the director of college scouting, and when they drafted Trubisky, I called him like, dude, what are you doing? Like Sean Watson, Deshaun Kaiser, Patrick Mahomes. You got this guy out of North Carolina. He said Ryan went around. Well, he knows Ryan Pace, but he was a scout with the Saints. Okay. That's how he met him years ago, and then he became a scout for the Bears. And then Pace came over, and he said Ryan went around the room. He asked a few people, and someone wrote an article about it. But I said it on my show like a long time before this, and he said Ryan asked everybody, like the 5 people that he trusts. He said, "Who would you take of all the QBs?" Every single one said Mitch. I was like, "Really?" I said, "Okay." I said, "That's your living. This is what you guys do for a living." I said, "Okay, no problem." And now I see why they took him. He's very malleable because of the fact that he didn't have so many starts. He doesn't have a lot of bad habits. He's very easily moldable and coachable. He's a yes sir, no sir kind of kid. And Matt Nagy loves it. Matt Nagy loves that guy. So I love what he did from in week 1 to week 18. And I'll tell you what, I'm excited to see what this kid can do now, because now Mitch is going to be calling some offensive plays, some series. Matt Nagy said. So it's going to be interesting to see. And you're right. There's going to be no excuses. It's going to be like Kentucky. Remember Kentucky's 5 in, 5 out? Mm-hmm. You're going to have 4 in, 4 out wide receivers with the amount of weapons that they got. And you talk about DBs getting tired, or D linemen getting tired, how they rotate. Mm-hmm. The DBs are going to have to start rotating, because you're going to have people running crossing routes and overs and unders and post corners and a whole bunch of different things. And you got to stop all that stuff on a regular basis. And you come maybe first, second quarter, you're okay. Third quarter, maybe. But in the third quarter, fourth quarter, these jokers are fresh, and you're the DB, and you've been recovering 2 different speedsters.
Right.
It's gonna be fun to watch.
I want to get to the receivers, but first, you mentioned that you have a pal that's in the brain trust and with college with college players. Has he talked about any difference from when he first got there to now with the philosophy as far as how they're looking at the players and going after the players in college?
No, but you know what? That's a good thing. That's a good question. I'll ask him next time I talk with him. And see what he's looking for, what they look for now.
The game is changing.
Yeah, I would imagine, just from my own perspective, everything's a little more streamlined. You need thinner guys, speed. Even your pass rushers, like now they're like 270, 280. Mm-hmm. Before you want a big 300-pound guy. Knows, even though Eddie Goldman's up there, Eddie Goldman's one of those freak athletes, which is why they signed him early. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They saw what he was going to do, and they're like, no, let's get you locked up under contract for a minute. So. It's a lot more streamlined. It's a lot more speed, and I think that's the way it's going, especially on the offensive and defensive lines.
Speaking of speed, and you mentioned Taylor Gabriel, you look at the fact that they brought in Riley Ridley, and also I forgot the receiver they brought in, the undrafted one. How do you think
Emmanuel Hill?
Thank you. Yeah. How do you think the receiving core is going to shake out? Because I
told you at Kentucky, 5 in, 4 out.
So do you think they're going to keep all these kids?
I think they're going to keep a lot of them. I think they're going to keep Emmanuel Hill. Emmanuel Hill was supposed to be like a 3rd or 4th round pick, and I don't know what the heck happened to him and why he fell. So he's going to be speed. Riley Ridley is, to me, Riley Ridley looks like a younger version of Allen Robinson.
Ooh.
He doesn't have that home run speed, but his routes are unbelievable. Watching going down, you talk about if it's a 5 and out, it's 5 and out. He doesn't drift, he doesn't cut it short, he doesn't drift, doesn't cut it short. It's 5 and out. Those cuts are sharp. And that's where he creates a separation, because he doesn't have that blazing speed. Mm-hmm. He creates the separation on his cuts. And Mitch is gonna love that coming out of breaks. And once they get used to each other, and he's gonna be, I'm telling you, he might not break a long one, but I'll tell you what, key third downs, and those are key to have. You got 2 guys, you say you have 3 guys running deep, you got 1 corner, another corner, and a post, and then you have a guy like him run a deep in or a dig route. There you go. So it's gonna be fun to watch.
But nothing to the tight end position to me.
I wish they would have did more. I guess they're still holding out for Shaheen. So he's got to remember who the hell he is, and that's the problem. Like he's a little nervous. He doesn't have that confidence yet, and it's understandable. You get confidence with success, and the fact is he hasn't had a lot of success. He's been injured a lot, and that's part of the issue why he hasn't had success. You go back to his tape, and granted, he's playing against Division 7 guys, or online school people. But the fact of the matter is,
the University of Phoenix cornerback ain't got nothing on him.
He's a UPS worker by day, football player on weekends. But the fact of the matter is, like, it's an attitude, and he's got to start stiff arming people. He's got to start dropping his head and running over people. That gets him confidence. And right now, he's got to stay healthy. And if he can stay healthy, then he's got to start doing that, because you know what? He's 6'7", like 270, 280, who can run. Come on, man. You should be looking for, someone trying to stand, stop you. It's like, all right, if you're going to bring me down, you're going to feel it. Yep. And toward the end of the game, when you're going to take a quick dive in my leg, I'm going to step over you, and that's when the big play comes.
Have you ever had a teammate like that on one of your teams? And if so, what do you say to him to kind of get him to the point of like, man, you got to know who you are?
Yes, I've had teammates, I've had players, because I've coached for 15 years. I try and bring him, and I got to be Phil Jackson of the team, of the coaching staff. But yeah, you talk to him and you say, hey, listen, because I knew about most of my kids or most of the teammates as we went along where they played. I'm like, hey, you got to go back to, give me put in your head where you were. What was your best game in grammar school, or if you're in high school, or if you're playing with one of my guys in college. What was your best game? What did you do? So put yourself in that. And then I was a big proponent of visualization. So I mean, you knew who the guys who you needed to kind of hype up because their confidence was wavering, and you'd say, hey, listen, I need you tonight to go to bed. I need you to visualize that dig route. I need you to visualize a jump ball in the end zone. I need you to visualize stiff arming a linebacker or a DB. I need you to visualize running. I said, I need you to visualize 10, 15, 20 different plays as many times as you can tonight. I said, I want you to dream about running over somebody or running away from somebody or jumping up. I said, I dream about it. Why? Because when it happens, now it's not foreign to you. Now you've done it a million times in your head, and it's a lot easier for you to do that. So that's how I would do that with some of my players on the team or some of my players that I coached.
Still comes down to the mental.
Did you use that for yourself?
No. I was tell you what, I was very fortunate to have really good coaches from grammar school to high school to college and in the pro when I played professionally. So I played angry. So it wasn't like I could see myself doing, but I wouldn't sit there at night go, oh, man, I can't wait. I would visualize it once or twice, and then because I had done it so long, I started playing football when I was 10. And I stopped when I was 40. And so 30 years.
Yeah. Damn. Wow.
And yeah, it was crazy.
You put in the work.
Yeah.
You put in the work. Look, I want to go switch over to defense. You look at the fact that they brought in Clinton Nix, or Clinton Nix, whatever. I'm messing his name up.
Clinton
Nix.
Thank you, guys. You look at the fact that they bring him in, and we already have a terrific safety in Eddie Jackson, and they're similar. They're both kind of free safeties. Is there any fear that the running game they may get taken advantage of, or is it a situation that if your safety's doing a lot of tackling anyway, you probably have a porous defense?
Well, first of all, it's a 1-year rental. Is. I'm not too worried about that particular thing. I think that front seven is awesome. That front seven is no joke. And I think they're going to get to a lot of the running backs coming out of the backfield or receivers and jet sweeps and stuff like that. I don't think the running game is going to be that bad. But Clinton Dix he can tackle. It's not his forte. He doesn't want to, but he will. His biggest asset to us, I believe, is going to be when covering tight ends, covering slots, or bigger slot receivers. He can run with people. And truth be told, I said it on the show the day before they even drafted him. I said, if they draft this kid, watch out. Steven Denmark, the kid out of Valdosta State.
Yeah, the cornerback receiver.
Yeah.
1-year cornerback.
6'3", 220, runs a 4.4 43-inch vertical.
You were in on him early.
I was in on him early, dude.
How and why?
I was talking to some scouts, and one of the guys said, the guys who called the show, and he's like, why? He goes, look up this guy, Steven Denmark. I'm like, where? He said, Valdosta State. I'm in Georgia? He's like, yeah. He said, all right. So I Googled him. I started watching his tape. I'm like, whoa, he might be the safety, and here's why. If you watch his tape, this guy is 6'3", 220. He's a cornerback. He does not mind bringing a bone. He does not mind bringing the lumber. And I was like, whoa. I was like, hold on, player. Cornerbacks usually don't like lowering that shoulder. They just want to, tackle a wide receiver. They don't like coming up and run support. Let me knock the ball away. Let me catch it. And run support is, they brace contain. He leaves his man. He comes up and he's laying wood. So with his size,
he's huge.
Yes, with his size, I'm thinking he could be the replacement for Clinton Dix after this 1 year rental.
It's funny. I was reading the Athletic article on him today, and that crossed my mind was safety because of his height. And I was thinking, like, how long is he going to play at cornerback? Not saying he can't, but I wonder. I was like, you know what? I wonder if they will put him at safety, which is a good thing. Which is a good thing pointed out by you. Look, Chuck Pagano and Vic Fangio leaving. You look at the fact your strongest part was this defense. Now the guy that called the plays and ran the defense is gone. Any thoughts on Chuck Pagano getting back to being the Ravens Chuck Pagano, or are we going to see the guy that was the head coach that didn't have the good defense in Indianapolis?
Oh, dude, Chuck Pagano is the happiest man on the face of the earth. He's like, today I'm the happiest man on the face of the earth. Dude, did you think of what he's got? He's got Leonard Floyd. He's got Khalil Mack. He's got Roquan Smith. He's got Danny Trevathan. Yeah. He's got Akeem Hicks. He's got,
Coleman.
Coleman. Yeah. He's got Pro Bowl, first team all NFL, not Pro Bowl, first team all NFL, a safety, outside linebacker, and defensive tackle. Every single level, he's got a first team all NFL. Okay, this guy's going to, and we know the thing about Chuck Pagano is he dials it up. Mm-hmm. He dials it up. And you know what? As much as I love Fangio for what he did, he brought this defense around. It was more of a bend but don't break type of defense. That front seven was just that damn good that, very rarely did they bend very much. Pagano's like, I got these dogs. I'm sending them. Sick them. And I love it. I know these guys are going to love it. I know Khalil Mack's going to get, he's salivating too. I can just, Leonard Floyd, all these guys. He's going to send it, and you know it. As an offensive coordinator, you know he's bringing pressure. It's bad enough when these guys are creating pressure and they're only bringing 4, maybe 5. But if he brings 5 or 6, your quarterback better have you better be a really quick, a hot route, and you better hope Kyle Fuller doesn't jump it or Prince Amukamara because then they're going. It's a house call 6 the other way. So I think I'm excited about Vic Fangio doing his thing, but I'm even more excited about Chuck Pagano coming in and just dialing it up because I was a defensive coordinator, believe it or not, when I coached. Oh, and kind of odd, right? But and I like to dial the pressure. Okay, you know what? If you had the mismatch, who I look at, you're in high school, you always got that one weak link on the line. Like, all right, who's the buster on this one? Okay, we're going over his. Hey. It's kill or be killed. You know what I'm saying? That's how it is in football. You find the weak link. And we come at him. I'll double team him. I'll send 2 people in his gap, and have him crap his pants. Have him not, it's usually a little shorter, fat kid, and we're going after him all day. I tell my linebackers, we watch on film. We find him. We find a weak link and go after him. So Chuck Pagano's going to do the same. He's going to go bring the pressure, and I think, truth be told, they might even have more interceptions than they did last year.
So, I think so too. Him being a defensive back coach also.
So from the sounds of it, you say buy some stock in the Bears next season. You got them going high.
I do. I thought Double Doink really screwed it up for us. Here's why. I think they would have got to the NFC Championship game at least. I don't know how they would have done against the Saints. With that defense travels. Mm-hmm. So, and it's in perfect conditions down in the dome, so it's not like you have to worry about the elements. I think they would have gone and whooped some ass in L.A. L.A. was talking a lot of junk, saying, if you come to L.A. and play us when it's warm. Like, come on, dude. You both had to play in the cold weather, okay? Right, it's not like L.A. played in cold weather and the Bears were in warm weather. Come on. And so, you're talking all that smack. Now you're making excuses for why you got to hand it to you. Mm-hmm. That would have been brought up. That would have been used as motivation. I think they would have gone back out there in L.A. in warm weather and really taken it to them. And then when it got to the NFC Championship game. Now, again, how that would have turned out, I don't know. But I at least saw us get into the NFC Championship game. So I think this team is hungry. It's unfinished business. And I think there's a lot of motivation for these guys coming back because they know darn well they did everything in their power. I shouldn't say everything, but they did enough to win that game. And the guy who, when it came down to it, didn't do his job.
What are your thoughts on the kicking situation?
I'm a little annoyed. It's common sense, okay? We're in Chicago. We're going to have one of the best teams in the NFL. Don't give me a kicker out of Florida. Don't give me a kicker out of Texas, California, Arizona, who kicks in the dome. You give me the best kickers in the Midwest who've kicked outside. So go to Michigan, go to Central Michigan, go to Eastern Michigan, go to Minnesota.
Penn State.
Go to Penn State. Okay, give me guys who've kicked out in the elements. Give me guys who've kicked in the snow, in the rain, in the slop. Okay, because that's what we're going to be kicking in because we're going deep in the playoffs. We're going the divisional. We're going to the NFC Championship game is going to be here in the next couple of years. So we need a guy who can kick in here, a guy who can kick in the elements, a guy who's used to it. I don't care if you can kick 50 yards in warm weather. Okay, everybody can kick 50, 60 yards in warm weather. Okay, how are you in the elements? Do that. Get a pool of those guys and choose the best one out of there because that's where it's going to come down to.
Look, that's just a taste of what you can get from Shawn and Maya in the morning, so make sure you check them out. We're going to continue this conversation, switch to a little bit of baseball, give you guys a little bit of that. We'll be right back. D and Davis Show.
Yo, what's up? This is Rashid Hadi, and you're listening to the D and Davis Show. Yeah.
D and Davis Show. Hey, we are so happy to have Shawn Sierra, co-host of the Shawn and Maya in the Morning Show, right here in studio with us. Make sure you follow Shawn on Twitter at the Shawn Sierra. Baseball time. Listen, man, I know Ryan and I was talking about this before y'all came up. The Cubs and how they're playing right now. And one, Mr. Javi Baez, man. It was a nice. I wouldn't say Ryan and I was debating, but it's kind of like, okay, so who's the true cornerstone now when you think about the Chicago Cubs? Is it still Chris Bryan or is it Javi Baez? Shawn, what do you say?
Javi.
Yeah, it's easy.
It's easy.
Is it easy now?
It's
really?
not even close.
It's not even close. Not no more.
Not even close.
And it's not a diss to Chris Bryan.
No disrespect to him whatsoever, dude. Javi's just a Mickey Ficky man.
Yeah.
And end of story. You know, he's cool as a cat, man.
Yeah,
you know, you seen that meme where he slides in the third,
yes.
He slides back and just kind of I'm not even a Cub fan, man. I'm like he's smooth as butter, man.
He's fun to watch.
He's smooth as, yes. But the crazy thing about it is you don't realize of all the things he does. His baseball IQ is through the roof.
Yep.
It's through the roof, and you don't think about that because you think of all the the quick tags and the ducking and dodging the tag at first base and the slides. Yeah. You think, but that's all baseball IQ. Mm-hmm. And for him, as much flash as he has, there's sizzle, but there's so much more substance underneath it, and that's what's really really awesome to watch about him. So yeah, it's hands down. It's not your. It's not Brizzo anymore. It's hands down Javi.
Were you a doom and gloom guy? A lot of the times, any places that I appeared, at the beginning of the season, I said that I thought the Cubs would be able to turn it around and it was too early. And to look at what they're doing now, what they lost. The third series of the season was the last time they lost a series, I believe, this year.
Sound about right.
They had like 9 in a row, which, I mean, unless you think that's a small sample size that we were talking about at that time.
And it's the beginning of the season, too.
Yeah. But, I mean, man, it was dire.
Oh, yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
People had pitchforks. He was ready to jump through the window. But, look, what are some of the things through this turnaround that you think is sustainable that you've noticed what the Cubs have been doing over the last 3 or 4 weeks?
Individually or as a team?
As a team.
Yo, give us both.
The pitching is better, hands down. Pitching is way, way better. When Lester went down is when it really started. Jose Quintana had those couple starts where he was like 14 scoreless innings. I think it was 21 innings that he had. It was 1 run, earned a run, given up. Cole Hamels, pretty much the same thing. Mm-hmm. Yu Darvish. He's doubled his win total from last year, so there's
on the way is up.
Oh, that's bad.
And then the professor is just a professor. I mean, he goes out there and he's so nasty because he throws 89. I don't even know if he hits 90, and he's striking dudes out or he's getting you to he pitches the contact, and that pitching staff really turned it around once Lester went down. They really stepped up in a big way, and when you give your team a chance. That lineup it's still potent. Let's not get it twisted, man. These dudes, we're talking MVP Chris Bryan, we're talking Anthony Rizzo, we're talking Javi Baez, runner-up MVP, we're talking Wilson Contreras, we're talking guy who still hasn't even turned on yet, and that's Kyle Schwarber. That's 5 guys in the lineup right there. So you got the pitcher at 6, and Jay Hay was hitting very well last year. He started to do well. Not for power, but he's still getting hits. We're talking 6, 7 guys in that lineup out of the 8.
Yeah.
Okay, and those guys can take over a game.
Listen, I think I can go on a ledge and say this. This offense right now could be better than what the offense they had when they won the World Series. The run differential right now is plus 54. And as you just said, Schwarber was hot then. He hasn't been able to get hot right now. I don't know if he's ever going to get back to that point where he was the way he was raking it. But man, this offense right now, with the pitching is there, they can be just as dangerous if they make it to the playoffs than when they won it all.
I said beginning of the year, I said they're going to win the division, and that's no disrespect to Milwaukee, no disrespect to St. Louis, who's retooled with Goldschmidt. The Pirates are still down there. Cincinnati, they like to mess everything up, so to speak. That's that one team that you just can't shake. You could have 10 wins. They could have 10 wins, and they still give the Cubs the flux. You know what I mean?
8 of them against the Cubs.
yeah, they give them the flux. It's like how are they this team who's that they got high school players and they still get them, but it's one of those teams. But I picked them because this team is too damn good. They are too good. I mean, you have legitimately 4 to 5 MVP candidates in that lineup. Legit, you got Warner MVP already and Chris Bryan. Rizzo's in the conversation every year. Wilson Contreras was in the conversation before he got hurt in 17, and last year he decided not to train. And then now you got Javi Baez. So there's 4 guys right off the top. I mean, and they're boom, 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 1, 2, 3, 4. You know what I mean? So how do you get around them? You pitch around Bryan. Okay, well, you can pitch around Bryan to get to Rizzo. Well, if you want to pitch around Rizzo, you got Javi. If you pitch around Javi, then you have Contreras. It's a modern day, I hate to say it, because I'm not a Cub fan, but damn, that's murderer's row.
Yeah, it's sick right now, man.
Dean Davis recording at the Score in studio right now. We're lucky enough to have Shawn Sierra with us. Follow him at Shawn Sierra. Shawn, look, individually, what are some of the things that start to kick up with this team that you start to notice that has them in this positive situation right now going forward?
Javi. We'll start with him. He's the most popular guy out there right now. 2 things. He laid off the wipeout pitch in the dirt. He laid off the high heat. And that's it. And I guess a third thing is he decided to go the opposite way. He's comfortable going the opposite way. If you want to pitch him away, fine. He's got enough power. He'll slap a single to the right field. He'll knock one out of the ballpark to right field. So he's more than comfortable, and he doesn't mind going opposite field. He's a lot like Derek Jeter, who would slap it the other way, but he's got a lot more power than Derek Jeter. And so he would go the opposite way, and so that really, now you really got to play straight up when he bats. You can't shift, you can't really move your defense any way, shape, or form because he might just be good enough to hit it right where you're not.
What do you think about Joe Maddon's situation?
I think, dude, it's crazy. How the hell is you not give a guy who ended a 108-year streak, and he's been to the playoffs every year, 3 NLCS titles, 3 NLCS appearances, sandwich in a World Series, and you don't just give this guy an extension? That's ridiculous, And you got this bozo over on the west side getting an extension in Jim Boylan. It just goes to show you the truth. It's terrible. I mean, he should have the question to Joe Maddon is like, all right, how long do you want to manage?
Yeah,
because this is the last stop you're going to have. Okay, but they're not doing it that way. I believe there's some friction between him and Theo. They're never going to say it, but you know what? You don't bring, you got rid of John Maley and was it Duncan, the original pitching coach that took him. Bosio, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, then you bring in. After that, you said Theo said this. He said, the staff is Joe's decision. Mm-hmm. So Joe brings in his guys. And you know what? Was it Hickey or Duncan? Yeah, Hickey. Hickey. I don't know why I get Duncan. Yeah, so he brings in Duncan and Hickey and Chili Davis. Mm-hmm. And after 1 year, he pulls them. Okay, I think Davis was the wrong type of coach for this team, for that team, I should say. But nonetheless, you got rid of him. So now you got 3 hitting coaches in 3 years, 3 pitching coaches in 3 years. And now in place are the kind of guys that the organization wants. So it's befuddling as to why you wouldn't give this guy whatever the heck he wants, because he deserved it. He brought this team a World Series. He keeps these egos in check. He's very Zen-like and very Phil Jackson-like, and he's able to get the best out of everybody.
Okay, let's go to the South Side.
Hey, nothing wrong with the South Side right now, man.
I'm good. I'm good with the South Side, man.
I'm happy with the hitting.
I'm good with the South Side.
I'm happy with the hitting on the South Side.
Yes.
I'm really, really, really concerned about pitchers going down at a rapid pace on the South Side.
That is troubling.
And that's been one of the keys to our team. Like, for instance, when this rebuild started, and usually when you look at the Cubs, you look at Houston, a lot of teams that have done the teardown have usually gone with everyday players. And us as Sox fans know the Sox have had a problem with developing everyday players. But when it comes to pitching, they can fix your problem in your pitcher, and Don Cooper can have them out there. And this can go all the way through the minor league system with pitchers coming from different minor league teams or whatever. But when you look at the fact that Rodon's out with the arm, Dunning's out with the arm, Kopech was out last year with the arm, it's like what?
Like Birdie.
Yeah, like what's going down in the minor leagues? I'm not going to put this on Coop because most of the time Coop didn't have these guys. But what's going on in the minor leagues where a team, remember, the White Sox were heralded as we've had the least amount of pitchers on the injured list out of any team in the majors. And that's not what's taking place now. And with them keying on pitchers for this rebuild, it's kind of alarming when you had these guys going down. And that's the second Tommy John for Rodon. He had to win in school. So what are your thoughts on what's taking place with the pitching on the South Side before we get to the good stuff?
It's really frustrating. It really, really is. It's really frustrating when you last year I was at Kopech's game when he came up, and man, there was an energy at Sox Park that I haven't felt in years. Yeah. They sold because he was announced that day, I believe, that he was coming up, and I was doing the show, and I'm like, dude, I'm there. Mm-hmm. I'm there. I'm going, man. I'm there. And they sold an extra 7 to 10,000 tickets, walk-ups that day. People wanted to see him, and you want to you want to keep it going. And if it wasn't for the rain, like his first 4 starts,
I was in one of the rainouts, and it was great. The energy was there, and he pitched like maybe an inning or two, and then boom.
Yep. And so it was frustrating to see that happen. It's frustrating to see these other guys happen because you're starting to see some of the position players do well. You're starting to see Yoel Moncada, when we were talking about him a little bit. TA7, Tim Anderson, throwing bats at people. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. I'm liking that kind of party. James McCann, who the hell's this guy?
All-star level playing right now.
Who the hell's this guy?
Yes.
Thank you, Detroit.
I mean, you knew you had him defensively. You knew it was good, but who the hell's this guy? I mean, he's knocking the snot out of the ball. So, I'm frustrated with the pitching. The one thing that I think they need to do is go buy it.
Yeah.
Go buy it.
Would you go out and sign Dallas Keuchel?
Hell yeah. We're saying that here's why.
I was pushing for it at the beginning of the season.
Here's why you do it now. Because once because right now you have to give up a second round compensatory pick. Okay? Who cares? Who the hell cares? When's the second round pick gonna produce for you? 2 or 3 or 4 years? That you give him a 2 or 3 or 4 year contract. Well, and guess what? It's about the same time, and then there's no guarantee that whoever you pick is coming up is going to be productive once he finally gets up there. So,
oh damn it!
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Oh, Hoji is not happy.
Didn't
Yeah, you got that one, D.
No, I didn't call that. I didn't
thought
call
you were.
that.
The Bulls are picking 7th. Everyone in the upcoming draft.
I said Sydney. Sydney called like 6 or 7. D and Davis show right here. As we get that great breakdown for Shawn Sierra about the Chicago White Sox. Yes, the Bulls are now slated to draft at number 7. Once again, that's 3 seasons in a row at number 7. 3 seasons in a row for the number 7 pick. Oh my God, I'm just waiting for a text.
This thing is fixed.
It is.
It's not fixed.
Who came up? But thanks. Who jumped up?
No, not the Hawks.
No, someone is up high.
Yeah,
Memphis and the Lakers.
Lakers.
Oh,
where's Charlotte? Oh, it is number 12. All right.
So LeBron worked his way to get Zion Williamson. Is that what happened?
Wow.
Is that what happened?
The 2 biggest markets in the NBA are up there, not the 3rd.
Yep.
Oh, but look, hey, look at New Orleans and look at Memphis. You never know.
Wow.
Hey, maybe looking at New Orleans, we're taking a hard right turn right here. But maybe looking at New Orleans, maybe they'll be able to, if they get the number 1 pick, they'll be able to kick Anthony Davis down.
Yeah, they said they're willing to trade him for the number 1 pick.
Wow.
They're gonna trade. They said they're willing to do that. So that's good stuff for them. That's what you want,
Shawn. Oh my goodness. Let's get back to the Sox and the hidden.
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm telling you, I feel good about the South Side.
Yeah, I do
man.
too. I do too.
Listen, before this season, were you down on Moncada? Did you think that he was going to start to reach the heights that he's been hitting this year?
I was hoping this year would be his year. You know what? And here's why. I wasn't down on him, and because of the fact of this. Last year, he got rung up the most. According to StatCast, he got called out on strikes more than anybody on pitches that were not strikes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so his eye is unbelievable.
Yep.
But dude, you're a rookie. You ain't getting these calls.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're going against a veteran pitcher, a guy who's been in the league a couple years, and plus the strike zone changes every day. It changes. It could change during the game, because it's depends on the umpire behind the plate.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing about him is he just wasn't aggressive. You know, and everything else, he'd take walks, and he's like, it's not a strike, and technically it wasn't a strike, but as the season went on, he had to learn, which he's made that adjustment this year. Like if it's a tweener pitch, if it could be a strike, I got to foul it off. I got to fight it off somehow, some way, and get another pitch. Maybe the pitcher makes a mistake. Maybe he gives me something center cut, something. But maybe I can sit on one of his pitches and take care of it. He's doing that a lot this year, and I didn't think he'd be doing it to this level this year so fast. Mm-hmm. But he came out the gates like Carl Lewis, dude. He came out the gates Ben Johnson style. I was like, man, what is up with this dude? He's hitting everything. His exit velocity is ridiculous.
Crazy.
It was a home run last night.
Yeah, which one?
Yeah, that's right. No, the first one. The
one that hooked
110. Yeah.
He hooked the right field foul pole, and then he decides to go oppo, right. And that's from both from the left side of the plate.
Yeah.
So this guy, you can't shift on him either because he's hitting it all over the park. This is what you wanted. This is what we saw, what we were hoping when we got the number one player in the minor league system, and he's starting to live up to that. You know what's funny is a shortstop and a third baseman on both sides of town are both
killing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't even think about it like that. Look, speaking of the shortstop, Tim Anderson has performed terrific. He was AL Player of the Month last month. What are some of the gains that he had this year that you didn't expect for him to get this year?
The consistency.
Yeah.
I thought he had a great year last year. Really good last year, not great. But this year he's dialed in. And people forget that they're human. And you got to remember last year that his best friend, the godfather of his daughter, was shot and killed back in Tuscaloosa.
Alabama,
and Alabama, that's right, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where he's from. And that he's human, man. It's gonna affect you. And I know you sometimes athletes, they dive into the work like a Patrick Kane did when he had a situation. Addison Russell should be doing now. Yeah. But sometimes it just hits you hard, and it affected him. If ands or buts, like last year Rizzo with the shooting at his school. You know what I'm saying? His high school. These things affect professional player. Because you're a millionaire has nothing to do with the fact that you don't care about people. And that was his guy. That was his road dog, his A1 from day one. You know what I mean? And it was tough for him to deal with. And the Sox got him therapy. And as the season went on, he started to come out of that funk, and he started hitting. Mentally, he came out of the funk, but then he started to play better. And I think this year he came in with a free mind. He's like, he'll bump this. I'm just gonna have fun, and he's having fun knocking balls all over the yard. I mean, he's 20-20 last year, and I've asked Ozzie Jr., who's been on the show. I've asked Scott Merkin, what do you think this guy can be? 25-25, 30-30, 40-40. Some guys said 30-30.
Okay, if he gets 30-30, I'm happy.
It just seems as if it's just finally just clicked for him too.
Yeah.
That's out there on the field. Because, listen, I remember when we went last year, we got the bobbleheads, and I was like, man, I hope this bobblehead is worth something.
It is now. I was looking at it the other day, I was like, yeah, Tim Anderson bobblehead.
It looks like it has finally clicked.
Did you go like this?
Yeah. It's still in the box. I'm not touching it. It's still in the box. But him and Makata, man, it just seems as if they finally clicked. And I was actually speaking to someone at work today. I was like, man, listen, it's possible that the Bulls, I'm sorry, I'm thinking about the Bulls up here. The White Sox can possibly have 3 All-Stars. McCann, Makata, and Anderson. It's very, very possible. The pitching is that, what I'm saying? Just kind of duct tape the pitching for the rest of the season, but let this offense go. You never know what they're going to do. Looking at the standings right now, they're 19-22. I believe the stat came
today,
up after today. Yeah, that was sorry, but you're going to have those kind of games though, and I think as a White Sox fan, you just got to know you're going to have those kind of games.
If you keep, and I said, keep fighting. Give me plus or minus 4 games for 500. Give me plus or minus 4.
Yep.
All right, because right now we're at 3 under. Yesterday we were 2 under before today's game. They're going to probably get close to, they're going to get close to 500 and then maybe fall again. All right. You stay that right now we're in the middle of May. You keep messing around doing that, losing games like that, and hovering around 500s in in June.
Zion Williams is a Pelican, everybody.
What'd I just tell y'all? What'd I just say?
Wow.
What did I just say? It's going to be able to keep him down there, keep AD down there now.
He's not staying there to
Hey,
grow
you
with
never
that.
know. Hey, you got this young buck down there running with what he's been able to do. Hey, maybe that'll entice him.
Listen, I'm trying to win.
That's a new Boogie Cousins. Minus the torn Achilles.
New Orleans Pelicans have just won the number 1 pick in the NBA draft lottery. So that's, he was bona fide just go ahead and say right here that Zion Williamson is going to be in New Orleans. And let's see, Memphis at number 2. So you have Conley.
But they may have shopped him last year.
True.
So if
I think you go Ja.
Wait, we got to do this. Finish this.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
All right. Sean, real quick.
We definitely got to get Sean's thoughts.
You gave us your prediction on the Cubs. You had them winning the division.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you have the Sox finishing this year?
After all that's transpired, I say 3rd, maybe 4th.
Okay.
No one wants to take the Central. Nobody wants to take. I mean, they're avoiding that like the plague. I'm surprised Minnesota's doing what they're doing. It's like, what the hell is going on up there?
Yeah, I know.
Which reminds me, I got to get what's his name to call the show? Hayes, Dan Hayes, because he's up writing for Minnesota now. I got to find out what's going on up there because I had no idea Minnesota was going to be like this. But the Sox are only 6 games back. Think of all the games. How many games have they blown already? 4?
Yeah.
5?
Mm-hmm.
Add that to the win column. All of a sudden now you're
in the mix.
Yes, you're fighting for the division lead. I don't think now that all these pitchers have gone down, I was hoping that I thought beginning of the year they would fight for a wild card spot and then fade at the end and not get it. But now, if the AL Central continues to go this way, they still have a shot.
Yep.
You know what? Because of their offense, they got a puncher's chance.
Yep.
They got a puncher's chance. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do somehow sneak into the playoffs, with an 8th seed. I don't think they will. I think they're still learning how to win, but that can change. They can start to click. They can start winning series after series after series. Not a big winning streak, but just 2 out of 3, 2 out of 3, 2 out of 3. And that's all you need. I mean, if you go 2 out of 3 the whole year, that's 100 wins. Yeah. You know what I mean? People don't think about that. You could never have more than a 3-game winning streak and win 100 games. It's taking it, one game at a time. So that's what they need to do. They need to work on, taking it one game at a time. And I just think that as of right now, I don't think they'll make the playoffs. They have a shot because no one wants to take the Central. But until something changes, until they go get Dallas Keuchel or someone to put at the top of the rotation and give you a damn chance, and stop snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. It's like, come on, man, like they've done 4 or 5 times. I just think they're just going to miss out this year. The next year, I think it's going to be big time. The window opens next year.
I'm just happy to see how they're playing. I'm happy to see what the offense is. If they're able to finish the season, as you said, Shawn, maybe like 4 or 5 games under 500, that's a huge.
That's like a 15 game improvement.
Huge improvement. And one thing, as we always say around here, entertain me.
Yeah.
As long as we have a good, fun summer on the South Side, and you're out there competing, and you're kind of like maybe finishing 3rd, hey, I think that's a success.
You keep hitting homers like that, and Tim Anderson's going yard, and Moncada's going yard. You got to, if you're in the bleachers, you got to duck when he hits a homer. You got to duck,
yes.
Or bring your gloves to the bleachers because that's for that Joker is that exit velocity that he's got. I mean, he's turning on. He's built like a football player, like a running back. Dude, it's awesome. But I agree with you, D. I want entertainment. I want it to be fun. And the cool thing is the old saying, Ricky's boys don't quit. I love it. They'll put a 3-spot, a crooked number up on that board late in the game,
real quick.
I just want them to keep battling, and then you get Louis Robert up here, Mick Rodolfo up here, Dylan Cease up here. You should be up here already.
When is Eloy coming back? We ever heard any news about that?
He starts a rehab assignment tomorrow, I believe, down in Charlotte.
All right.
Yeah, and he's another one, dude. Man, I forgot about him because he's been on the injured list, dude. Remember, they were giving him an unhealthy dose of sliders, and they were getting him out. And he's like, okay. He's like, síguele in Spanish. Síguele, keep it up. And then he got his first 2 hits off of sliders, and then all of a sudden he went yard in New York twice, and now you can't throw no sliders anymore because he makes those adjustments quickly. And I was like, wow, the ability for him, like Moncada, to make the adjustments that quick. Those 2 are going to be special.
Listen, you got a full taste of great sports talk from Shawn today, and that's half of Shawn and Maya. Maya's just as good as he is, so you should know 9 to noon, Logic Radio, Shawn and Maya app on Facebook. Go to Facebook/SportsChica/post. You're going to get this every morning. It's quality, great sports talk. Make sure you follow them. Follow Shawn at the Shawn Sierra. Shawn, we definitely appreciate it, bro.
Oh, man. Thanks for having me up here, man.
Yes,
it was a blast.
no doubt, man.
No, it was definitely great talk. Look, we're going to come back and unfortunately talk about the Bulls and where
Number
they're going to
7.
draft them at. Yeah, D and Davis Show.
Yo, what up? It's your man Jay Illa, official Chicago Bears DJ, and you are listening to the D and Davis Show. Turn it up.
The 7th pick belongs to the Chicago Bulls.
Wow. So we know where Chicago will be drafting now. All right, that means the Lakers, Grizzlies, and Pelicans have moved up. 2 more to go.
Wow. D and Davis Show. It's time to break down the NBA draft lottery. It has happened, and we had to go to our guy, our main man, Tony Gill, executive producer of the Lawrence Holmes Show, which you hear Monday through Friday right here. We're recording it at 670 Score, but you listen to it on 670 Score from noon to 2. Tony, what's going on, man? How was the field down there?
Bad.
Okay. So the Bulls are drafting at number 7, Tony. What do you think? Again, yes.
It's called home.
It certainly feels like the season was wasted. That there was a chance for the Bulls to change their fortunes, a chance for the Bulls, for the narrative to switch about the Bulls around the league, and the opportunity wasn't had tonight in the lottery. And it's from what I was talking to around the people. I talked to Woj, talked to Jay Williams, and some others. They seem pretty optimistic about the Bulls going forward and where they landed, which was kind of shocking. But they were like, yeah, there's talent, there's point guards to be had at 7, which is a dire need for the Bulls, considering that they had literally one of the worst point guard plays in the league last year. But, I mean, you talk about Kobe White. That was mentioned multiple times from North Carolina, that for him being an option, specifically by Jay Williams, who was a point guard, saying that he may not have been as touted as John Morant, but he is almost, as equally effective. But they don't know the local market and what this draft meant. I mean, this lottery meant to the city and the potential that it could have had, and it just was missed today.
Dude, it hurts. I mean, to sit there, we were interviewing Shawn Sierra, and we're looking up, and you're seeing, and you're like, automatically, when you saw Atlanta before the Bulls, you're like, man, the Bulls got a chance right here.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you do is you see the Bulls, and it's like, what the hell is going on?
Number 7.
And the Knicks and the Lakers are still in the running. It was like, dude, come on. And like, this is the key. One thing that you said, Tony. You had such a terrible year this year. And again, you had a terrible year and didn't get anything out of it. You could have had a worse year record-wise if you did what you're supposed to do when you were basically tanking. And I can't, but look, I can't even really get on them as much for that, because shout out to the NBA. This new draft, man, tanking, it didn't work like it used to.
Yeah, it was, I mean, the new system, it provided an extra layer of drama for the entire situation. I mean, we were sitting there as the TV show was going on, and it was weird because, we can hear everything that they were saying over the air. And it was, I'm telling you, everybody was just completely engaged to what was going on and how it's, and I think the NBA, they succeeded. They added another layer of entertainment to something that was just kind of, well, if you're bad, you're just going to end up with a top pick. And that certainly wasn't the case tonight, where the Lakers almost got them.
Almost got number 4, right?
The Lakers ended up at number 4. But, I mean, the league, they got the job done and provided another layer of drama. And it sucks as a Bulls fan, but are we all entertained? I would say yes.
Real quick, the Pelicans got number 1, the Grizzlies number 2, the Knicks number 3, the Lakers number 4, Cleveland number 5, the Suns number 6, and the Bulls number 7, and the Hawks got number 8. Listen, it's funny because you heard rumors that perhaps the fact that Zion wanted to play in a small market was Zion. If that's true, you got what you wanted.
You got it right there for sure.
Remember when Duke was playing up in Madison Square Garden and they asked a question and Zion, he kicked it up to RJ. Hey, RJ, the Knicks at number 3, you may get what you want. That's your team.
and it just might happen now,
look,
right?
Let me ask you this. I think none of us expect the Bulls to be out of the draft lottery next year. I would think the Bulls should be somewhere, best case scenario, perhaps around
12, 13.
Exactly, D. So look, now I'm going to the next year like the Bulls got a chance to get the number 1 pick in the draft. If the draft is this crazy, what can I say?
Who knows?
Dude, listen, you can have back when we grew up, if you had the 13th or 14th pick, you didn't have a chance in hell. The Lakers got number 4. Crazy.
Tony?
Considering the new odds, there's certainly obviously a chance for the Bulls to nab it. But I don't know, guys. I mean, from what John and what the team feel like, they feel like they are going to be in contention. I mean, you heard Michael Reinsdorf on our station, 670 Score, confident that next year there's going to be a significant jump.
Yep.
I think they all believe that. And then from what I'm hearing around, just talking to, Chris Herring and people, around the league, that, I mean, there's a good possibility that they're not in, lottery contention next season, but still not good enough to make any significant, runs, of any kind like that, obviously. But, I mean, if you're a Bulls fan, I would say what you want, because of the new odds, you want a lackluster season. You want, another season of growth. And I know it's going to be difficult to kind of decipher the two, because you do want to see improvement from Larry Markkinen. You do want to see improvement from Zach LaVine. But at what cost to the long-term health of the team, I don't know.
Real quick. So yesterday when I was on the Stick to the Thrones podcast at Tony's, after the show, Tony mentioned that Michael Porter was going off. And Tony, when you first said it and I was looking away, I thought you said Otto Porter, and I was like going to say, like, who cares? And I was going to ask you, define Otto Porter going off. What does that mean? So look, Tony, how was your first NBA draft lottery?
Oh, man, it was amazing. The NBA really did a great job. I didn't know the Hilton Hotel was this big. Like, it's really
it's huge.
big in this, dude. And, I mean, just the multiple levels of just large conference rooms is ridiculous, especially in the downtown area. I'm like, man, their rent must be crazy. But
he's thinking about rent. They own that, Tony, to let you know.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, just seeing everybody in their element, the biggest, journalism stars, Mark Spears and, Woj and Jay and everybody just, around doing their thing. It was, I had to just take it all in, just had to take a step back and just be kind of, be grateful that I'm able to be here and just enjoy the moment and kind of take advantage of the spots where I can be. But yeah, it was a great time.
D. Davis Show on the line with us right now. Anthony Gill, Tony Gill is about to call him, executive producer down here at 670 The Score. All right, Tony. So, all right, the Bulls are number 7. What do they do?
Obviously, I mean, ultimately you have to take best player available. At this point, they were going to do that regardless, with no thought about, any position issues or position battles. So I think you keep that same mentality and ultimately also address your needs. And the biggest need is that point guard. And I know Chris Dunn is, taking a deep breath of
relief,
of relief, because at least John Morant won't be, a Chicago Bull. But again, like I said before when we started this interview, that there's still going to be point guards to be had, and fairly decent point guards. And specifically Kobe White from North Carolina. I think he is a pretty good guard. I think he can get the job done. Again, not a game changer, franchise changer, but I think the Bulls will fall right into highest floor guy. And he may be all right. Probably will. And I don't want to disrespect the Bulls drafting. I mean, they draft fairly well considering. I don't want to disrespect that aspect at all. But going into this draft, they're just going to take best player available, and they're just going to be fine.
So your theory of them moving the pick, that's pretty much dead?
Yeah, that was wishful thinking on my end. We talked about it on the Lawrence Holmes show, and I was just trying to trick myself into thinking that it could be possible. But considering what the Bulls have currently and the lack of valuable assets that they have, 7 in this draft and the players that you have on your roster won't really do much for anybody at the top or near the top, or that can get you anywhere near there. I mean, they're so far behind at 7. It's just they would have to basically just say, hey, we'll give you Laurie, Wendell, and Zach LaVine plus the pick, and they're definitely not going to do that. So they're stuck again at 7, and again they'll take best player available, and it'll probably be a point guard.
D mentioned that perhaps Zion going to the Pelicans will make Anthony Davis want to stay. I say BS. What do you think?
Wait, can you read the question?
D said that perhaps Zion going to the Pelicans will make Anthony Davis decide to stay. I said BS. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it actually makes it easier for them to trade him.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to deal with another season of lollygagging of him making subliminal T-shirt, remarks. I was watching. I can't remember the head coach of New Orleans, but David Griffin. I mean, they were hugging, and everybody was in the New Orleans camp. They were, giving each other high fives and stuff like that. It's crazy. David Griffin got LeBron James, and now he's got Zion Williamson. That's weird, but I mean, it makes it easier for them to move on because they have a legitimate, the most hyped players since LeBron James at their grasp, and they can rebuild, they can retool, and move on from Anthony Davis. And ultimately, Anthony Davis gets what he wants, and he can leave now.
And you can get the house for Anthony Davis too.
Yeah. But who has the house?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it got kicked around Boston, but yeah, Tony, who do you think that they probably try to target now?
Wait, who's
if with New Orleans? I mean, who's a team out there that saying they would want to do business with?
This puts. I mean, they're in a great position to succeed with the number 1 pick. Plus, that they can literally go, all right, who's giving us the most? Mm-hmm. Basically, now that they have the golden ticket in their hand, they're just saying anything we get for Anthony Davis from right now is going to be an add-on. And they're going to get a haul still for Anthony Davis, despite having one less year on his contract. But I think the deals are still the same. They're going to get a lot for a superstar in his prime, and they should be happy. If you're a New Orleans Pelicans fan, you should be rejoicing in the streets right now because you got the number 1 pick and you're going to get assets from Anthony Davis.
Well, that's Tony Gill. Make sure you check out the Lawrence Holmes show every weekday from noon to 2. You're going to hear Anthony on there, his executive producer. Mm-hmm. He also is the Stick to the Thrones guy and the Behind the Headlines guy with Julie DeCara.
He does it all. Did you say hi to Rachel Nicholson?
I didn't. And she was doing some hits, and I wanted to say hi. I stuck around. I lingered a little bit, talked to a bunch of people.
Pervy out there.
No, man, she was working. So, I got to respect that. So I just talked to other people, and then I missed it. But yeah, everybody's cool here. I mean, the basketball crowd is just a different, crowd. Everybody's nice. Everybody's, even in the scrums, people are like, oh, my bad, excuse me. It's all good. So I just, again, I'm just grateful that I get to be around these people.
Keep it up, T.
Thanks, Tony.
All right. Thanks, guys.
And that was Tony Gill. Make sure you follow Tony on Twitter at TonyGill672, executive producer of the Lawrence Holmes Show. And the dude just does everything down here. So
what are you doing?
What happened?
He didn't cut off his mic. He's over there fiddly winking with his computer. So the click sound came on.
I thought his mic was off. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay.
Yeah, messing up over there.
Well, the Bulls have number 7, Ken. You all right, man? I don't know. I'm not that effective.
You got something to say, guy? You got up like you got up like I got something to say.
Guy, if you want to bless the mic, I don't know, guys. Like, I don't even want to talk about
something's on my mind.
let me preach to them right quick. I don't know, for some odd reason, I didn't think that they was going to get the number 1 and number 2 pick anyway. So I was kind of like,
forget the number 1. They didn't get 4.
They didn't get 4. Yeah, I thought they was going to get 4. They fell further down.
Come on, man, wrap the show up.
All right, we'll talk about it all this later. We'll break down. Yeah,
this does not help with Game of Thrones not being what it's supposed to be.
Damn.
You wanted Game of Thrones to be in this show, didn't you? You hate me, Bryan. You hate me. How am I going to make him mad this show?
What are you talking about? I want to comment on the terrific work you did yesterday.
I need Zach to come in here doing some in-game stuff right now.
I told you in-game was better. I side with Zach. Hey, listen, make sure you follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at D and Davis Show. Once again, it's at D and Davis Show. Download the podcast, rate, share, subscribe, all that. Do all that, all right? iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Music, Stitcher, the TuneIn app, Spotify, and YouTube, all right? I'm on Twitter at Demons1. Ken's on Twitter at That's Davis. Ryan's on Twitter at Ryan B. Ski. Guy is on Twitter at Pay the Guy.
Thanks to Ryan and Guy. Also, thanks to Bryan Kalbrosky for coming on and Shawn Sierra for coming in studio.
Yes.
Last but not least, Tony Gill. And make sure you always check out the Lawrence Holmes Show at 670. We love you, Mitch. We will be back next week to give you another D and Davis show. Probably be a little bit more baseball oriented since basketball is kicking us.
No, we're gonna talk about basketball.
Basketball's
more, right?
kicking us in the nuts.
No, more basketball.
My nuts are sore. Basketball is sore.
We got the playoffs. We got the Bulls.
I need a football.
No playoffs in Chicago, D, and forever.
I need another football guest next week.
No,
help me, Ryan.
It's all basketball now.
Help me.
All basketball and baseball.
I'm dying out here.
I have 7 wishes and none of them are any good.
Make sure you check out D and Davis The Flip. We'll definitely be giving you a new flip this Monday. Hopefully you enjoy it, and we always appreciate you rocking with us. And because we appreciate it, don't do anything stupid before you hear from us again.
Keep your hands to yourself.